You're listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the eSports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is December 12th, and we are covering the Overwatch League Preseason action. Now, if you guys just hold on a second, I swear I have music coming. Don't worry.
You're right, Lepalose.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have it queued up this time, Jax. What I do have queued up for us today is a bunch of Overwatch League action. That is on the ticket for today. I mean, come on, first Overwatch League action we get to see. Of course, it's going to be something that we're covering in depth. But before we do that, I thought I'd go over here on the schedule, Jax, and see what else we should be talking about. There's a couple of things going on besides Overwatch League, which surprised that
Is there
Blizzard.
Lepalose? I mean, the way Blizzard is positioning things, Overwatch League is the beginning and the end. I
Uh,
guess we could throw contenders into the middle there somewhere, but outside of that, there's not much
Definitely,
else.
it's definitely a struggle to try and compete with what Blizzard is doing, and there's like the tail end of these pre-Blizzard
Lepalose,
era
how
is
do you
how I want to call it.
how do you compete when you literally have to, hey Blizzard, can we get a license to have a tournament? You can't compete when you have to ask Blizzard for permission to run a tournament. There's no competition. I mean,
And some of the, if you saw the terms or read them at all that came out this
some
week,
of them.
uh, basically they say you can't compete with Overwatch, like Blizzard events. So when you're talking about a regular season that's going to be packed with games, if they don't, like, the short and simple of this is, if they don't want to okay your event, they won't. There's almost something they can dock
I
you
can
on.
only hope that they meant Overwatch events only, Lepelos, and not Heroes of the Storm or
Yeah.
StarCraft or anything else. But since you brought it up, last week the discussion topic that we had was in Blizzard We Trust. So we now have had the preseason, and I guess the discussion topic I wanted to bring up was in Blizzard We Trust Part Two, where we got to see the stadium. Um, it's really nice. I
Yeah.
love the capture point progress inside the stadium. That is fantastic. Even though I don't see myself ever going down to the Blizzard Stadium, even though I live in LA, because Burbank and from where I'm at to Burbank is not happening. But
Jax,
for
I
those
don't
who
know how
don't
you could
know,
say that. When we earn tons of money from this podcast, when that happens,
I
Jax,
have
I
Uber
will
drive
fly
you
down
there.
to LA
Okay.
with our tons of money and go see it live with you. That will be when we're millionaires from the podcast. So, never say never, Jax. Never say never. But I agree. I agree with you. It's really cool that they have that stuff there. It seems like a really cool event. I don't think we see everything from the viewer's perspective, though, right?
No.
Like,
Well,
which is cool.
what do
But
you think about the lack of audio proof boost like we see? Well, I don't know. Is it soundproof in Korea, like for OGN? Are the boosts soundproof? Do you think we need something like that, or do you think it's fine the way it is? Or the players and their, I think they wear two sets of headsets. The noise canceling on the
yeah.
inside and then the headset on the outside, which is rather uncomfortable. But you like that particular setup like that?
Well, I mean, I think I've heard in brief from various sources that the noise sound canceling headphones are pretty decent. The
Okay.
stadium isn't a massive stadium. Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't like a
Okay.
soccer
True.
stadium filled up. So the sound level is somewhat moderated. I like the soundproof boost, but the strategies in Overwatch aren't so unique that your time to react based off of crowd audience is really going to drive your reaction, right? Like, you're not really going to get a good sense of, like, somebody's pulling a cheesy move on you. Like, if that happened in StarCraft at a few times, right, where the crowd noise was loud enough or the reaction was enough to give away a strategy. In
I mean,
Overwatch,
I
I don't know
remember
if that's enough.
one. I actually don't remember what series it was. Maybe you do, where it was on Horizon Lunar Colony, and the Sombra or the Tracer had zipped back to behind the defense for on first point, and they capped the first point, and then they capped the second point.
Yeah,
As a matter
I
of fact, it was the LA Gladiators versus I
what's
forget
that?
one of the teams they went to five with, London.
Yeah, the
And the
Spitfires there
yeah,
on.
the Spitfire had they were backcapping them, and they did it once, and then they did it a second time. I think Doa was like, "Come on, guys! You can even look up to the ceiling, and you can see the capture point progress above your head." So it was just something I'm thinking about. I'm saying to myself, yes, it's up there, but they don't really have time to look up and see the capture point progress when they're in the middle of a game. But
Yeah.
I was just wondering, do the audio cues from the crowd come through? But as you said, they're focused. We've heard some of the comms in behind the scenes footage, and they're loud, and things are moving so quickly that you probably don't take note of the audience, speaking or not speaking, but yelling at that precise moment.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, you might notice in times when you have downtimes, but it probably. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not so loud that it's dominating your comms and your ability to hear in game. Though I have no experience with the modern
Right.
modern headsets or whatever that they're using. I
Okay,
know
so
I know it can be a problem, but I don't think that's
by and
huge.
large, we like the set. I don't think we got to see the dugout, or at least I didn't have time to watch all the footage, so maybe they showed it in a segment that I wasn't paying attention
Yeah.
to. So that's still something I want to see, because there were a few coaching issues or mistakes that were made, and I'm still not 100% sold on this whole substitution method that they have right now. I
Don't like the timing of it, and I'm pretty sure I don't know the details, but like when the Outlaws were caught on not subbing in Blink, I imagine part of that. Well, one plain mistake. The second thing, probably because they had to do it like earlier than the end of the first round, whatever that means in terms of. I'm okay. I don't need to feed them excuses. I still think that's
Right.
a really weird thing.
No, because see, I think you're right in that the first round of something can happen, right? But then you still have the second round of the map to play. It can completely change, but at that point, it's too late for you to make any adjustments, Lepos, because you've already had to give your picks to the referee. And I don't understand why they have it set up like that. It's something I'd like to ask Nate Nanzer to expand upon. But
The only
the other thing I
thing,
want from Nate Nanzer, Lepos, is where's the rule book? We
yeah,
believe it or not, we have no rule book.
yeah,
He even said, I think someone said, or
that's
he said
incredible.
that when it's done, they will release it to us. And when it's done, Lepos, what's going on?
I mean, I guess they're quite literally writing as they go. I did want to mention one thing about the the players and the coaching, because you did bring that up
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah,
I would prefer to see the team, if not on stage, like off stage and available, and don't have them like walk across the crowd after
right.
the opening in order. Like don't create that. The second thing I wanted to bring up regarding that point about switching, the only thing I can think about why they're making it so early is it so the staff on stage have time to prepare for switching
Lepos, I'm
keyboards and
sorry,
everything else.
no,
Those are the only
Lepos,
things I can
no.
think about.
It has nothing to do with gameplay.
I agree with you, but we're talking about getting, you're talking about a production here. Maybe there's a bit of a lead time that you need to prepare people to switch in and out from the stage sense. I don't know, Jax. That's something different.
Okay, well, speaking of something different than Lepolos, let's look at one of the most important parts of watching an esport is the casting, right?
Yes.
So we got these are the guys that they have presented us with. We've got Doa and Mani, no surprise there. Uber and Mr. X, again, no surprise. We saw them all throughout contenders, and now we've got them here. And Mr. X is apparently growing every episode. Like he's catching. I think at one point he passed Uber in hype, because I don't know. But that being said,
For the
did you
medium
like the
stands.
casting?
The casting was all right. Listen, it wasn't. It's not my favorite caster here. ZP and Hex is still, because they're so core to Overwatch. It's hard to see them not be a pair casting on screen. Mister Mister X and Uber is not my favorite combo. While I like Uber's breadth and color that he adds in his commentary, he talks a lot, and that's not balanced well by Mister X's seemingly confusion about everything every time.
That is perfect how you said that. And at times, I'm listening and I'm thinking Mr. X is just trying to just get something in there in between the
Yeah,
moments where Uber's taking a breath. But then there are moments, and again, I wish I could remember the map, where it was the end of the round and it was really hectic, a lot of kills, and Uber just kept it going, right? And he just I don't know how he fit it all into that breath that he took, but he casted it perfectly and got across, everything that happened. And then Mr. X came in and was like, oh, and I'm like, dude, no, you're fine. Um,
Yeah.
I guess, perhaps as they cast more, maybe they'll get their timing down. I know Jason Kaplan work with Uber quite a lot, and I feel as if, like Hex and ZP, Uber and JCap, like they complement each other. Like Jason Kaplan has figured out, through the many years that they've worked at ESL together, how to cast alongside Uber.
Yeah,
So
that's not an easy thing to do, right? Like, I mean, we're still trying to struggle to get everything in a podcast down to an hour and a half,
oh,
not
definitely.
like everything in a match done in 3 seconds. Like it's a whole nother level. Yeah, no,
So the casting, so basically
casting
you're saying
casting was all right.
was fine, right?
The-
Casting was fine.
The analysis desk. I've mentioned this. Maybe this was on our Discord. I mentioned this, but I want to bring it up again. Bothers me that they're bringing casters on to fill an analyst spot on the desk. I'm sorry. Separate those two. Get people who are specifically working on the stats and on the stories to properly analyzing, and don't just bring casters in as a lazy analyst.
I mean, I know for a fact, Lepos, they brought in Captain Planet to he actually runs, the
Yeah.
whole stat department. But I'm looking at this. I'm like, Hexagram's fine. His analysis is okay. I would actually prefer him to be casting more than doing analysis is fine. Zoe, for me, her analysis I could do without, but she
Fan
wants to do
favorite
the
host.
host, the interview thing. That's perfectly fine. Puckett, the thing in Puckett is the host, right? So
Yeah.
Puckett, I am learning to like. He has softened up quite a bit. He came in and he just reminded me so much of an NFL um desk host, and I was like, if I want that, I would watch it. And he's actually come across as more of an esports guy for me. This is how I personally see it. So Puckett has grown on me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hex is okay. Zoe, I'm just okay. Zoe, that's fine.
So I have to bait you with this, but like, what about some of the others we've seen? Like, Reinforce. Like, where are they, Jax?
Lepos, you already know my thoughts. That
I know.
think
That's why I'm
the
thinking you
analyst
this one.
position should be filled by someone with the game, not just knowledge, but have that game sense. Honestly, a player or a coach, but preferably a player. There
As one
are
of the
a lot of
spots,
things
but,
that
yeah.
while that we can watch and see, but we just don't get because we've never been there. We don't have the timing, the game,
Like this comment
the sense of
we
what is
started
going
off
on.
tonight, Jax. Like
Yeah.
the headset comment. That's one that I have to go through other people's understanding. Have I played on stage? No, I have not
Right.
played on stage. Right. Like all I know is what I've heard from other people at that. It would be great if somebody else in that experience could like fill a void like that. That's what you want up there talking about some of those more specific to the role senses that specific to the game senses. I
because
agree with you.
like the communication, someone who will know, like we're watching something, and how I often say I want to know what they're saying to each other, like what was being communicated at that point. While they aren't there and they don't know for sure, they will have some knowledge because they've been there, right? They have some experience to be able to tell you, I generally this is what's happening in this moment, or
But speaking of that, actually, if you want to go for a good example of, listen, I don't think it's everyone's favorite caster, but in OPC, the caster who is also the coach, right? Like he provides insight. If you've ever seen the OPC, he provides insight that is very different than having a caster that's up there talking about the game, right? And I think those are the type of people that we're trying to say that it would be more interesting to see them up than like fan favorites of like Zoe and again, that's not a knock on Zoe. It's just
Upload, you're gonna get us a reputation on this podcast, man. We
being
don't.
honest. Like
We don't.
like I
don't
like
want
Zoe. I thought she would be a great host and interviewer. Like she can do both of those. But as an analyst, not there yet. I mean, even the casters. I'm even saying up to the point of the casters. I'm not impressed by their analysis so far, and that's with support given to them
Right.
in terms of being an on-air personality. Though, they're fine. They're fine for our on-air personalities, right? Like I get that that's what they're looking for, but from somebody that's interested in the more serious side, I want to see maybe someone less camera ready and more game oriented, right?
Well, then Lepalose. Then I just have to point out now that they're bringing in similar from
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, right?
This is definitely, if you've
We've
been
seen
on our
him before
Discord, we've
in
been
Overwatch,
talking
though.
about
At
it.
least we have seen him before in E-League,
Yeah.
where they brought him in, him and Anders in, which I really wasn't a fan of. I'm like, really, you just bring these two in? Because I get it, they're a known quantity, right?
Yeah.
In the esports world, and this was at the time, I think it was the biggest tournament, and it was the finals were actually being broadcast on cable television here in the States. I don't know if they did it in Canada or other parts of the world, but in the States they did broadcast it on TV. And so now I'm looking at it, they're just bringing in one guy, Lepalose.
Yeah.
So if they're bringing in one guy, that's not a duo for a casting job, right? This is looking more like a desk job, or perhaps they will put him into a casting spot somewhere, but again, that's not what I want, because if I wanted another caster, Lepelos, and we talked about this on the Discord, and people all over Twitter and Reddit have been talking about it, we want ZP Lepelos.
Yeah.
Because ZP ZP has earned his place. I personally feel that ZP has earned his place, Lepelos. He is a large part of why we're even at this point in professional Overwatch. He every week, Lepelos, for hours upon hours, produced and casted those Gosu weeklies that got us off the ground. He produced, those Alienware monthly melees, Lepelos, and casted. He has done so much to get the scene here, and it's not that he's bad. I think ZP is a really good caster. That I'm just mind boggled that they have not signed him, that they have not which I don't get, because they had him for Overwatch World Cup, right? They had him for contenders. Why? What has happened that ZP is not here on the desk right now?
Yeah, it's definitely an Listen, we don't know if he was approached and there was contract negotiations. I don't know anything like that, Jax. Right? Like, all I know is I'm disappointed with their approach to this. Like, I see it as a business side. Like, we've talked about this. I think they're trying to say, like, hey, we're going to get this guy from another scene. People who know him from that scene will come check us out. Treat us as, like, a serious business that we're getting this guy from CSGO.
That's what they did with Monty and Doa from League of Legends, Lepelos.
It clearly works. Like, I mean, I was looking through some of the threads and then back and forward. There's some people being like, well, like, I know this guy. I like this guy. I liked his casting, so, I'm going to check him out. And it's like, that's exactly what Blizzard wants.
Okay.
I actually wrote a response in one of those threads just briefly at the end of one of the nights, but my short on it is, here we are ourselves running our own hobby podcast, and we're seeing somebody that's put in a lot more work than we have.
Yeah.
And Blizzard just sort of knocks him down, or like, listen, they didn't knock him down. They just were like, oh, well, that's great that you're doing all this work for us. Let's not support that in any way. Like, you look at what they did to the Alienware monthlies. They could have continued to support those, so they pulled their support. They said
I don't understand. I really don't know why. Like,
but this is going on, and it's. Yeah. I've said on our TeamSpeak too, or sorry, on the Discord chat, it's something that I look at, and it's like, well, like, why were we going to even bother? They're trying to dominate every market. They're going to create their own recap show. They're going to do very strong controls over every tournament. Yeah. So, like, why would we even try to compete with somebody that's tossing all this money at existing entities and not up and comers from within the scene, right? Like, why?
The Overwatch rundown is where the people can get the unbiased truth here. Though let's be honest, man. The rundown show, you're gonna have people being, PC about everything, whereas me, like, Jax Blake, tell me the truth. If you want the truth, they're bad. I'll just tell you, this person is bad. I actually plan on saying that. Okay, maybe not bad, but I have to question a number of these Overwatch League signings, Lepelos.
I mean, I think you'd be fair to do so, and we will be getting into that very shortly. In fact, Jax,
might as well, Lepelos.
Yeah, we might as well. We had a pretty good and full start here to the podcast, guys. I hope you guys liked it. But there's another big part of the podcast coming. That's our full coverage of the Overwatch League preseason action. We're not gonna. I mean, we're gonna go through the games.
How's it full coverage? You say full coverage when we don't even have all the teams participating.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So, thing number one, worst team of the week, Jax. Let's start with that. It's Philadelphia Fusion. Philadelphia Fusion for not even participating this week, making it look like sorry, not OPC. The bi-monthly brawl was where half the teams are uh, disqualified or
Yeah.
forfeited,
Or that one tournament in Germany,
or that
the
tournament
Razor
in Germany.
Series. The Razor Series, I think I checked it today. I didn't add it to the schedule, by the way, because I still don't know what's going on down
Yeah,
there.
it's
But
difficult to follow because of it. But
I look at Philadelphia Leplos, and it comes to the point where I think you have to put out some kind of product. And I look at Philadelphia, and I have to say, you didn't have 6 players that you could field the team with. Miami, I mean Florida, all they had is 6 levels. So a lot of these teams, right? They still had players in transit who were unable to play, or Mendo who played only once and briefly because he was, still dealing with visa issues. For them to not field anyone is just I'm glad I don't live in Philadelphia. Like, how am I, as a fan, how am I supposed to support you when that's the amount of effort that you put forth, Lepelos?
yeah, I mean, it's
Come
definitely
on.
questionable. And it's probably disappointing if you're a pro that didn't get on the team and you see that happen. Like you gotta feel like, what are these guys doing from a management standpoint? They're not the only people with some management issues. Can we also talk about Mendo, please, who had to go to Mexico and perhaps would have not gotten any chance to play? Hey, Toasty, and man,
I'm Lepelos. I
you just
I don't get it. I get, okay, the way visas work, it can you don't have any control really. You're at the mercy of the government. But I just this date has been set for a while. They have known what they have to do for a while. Why this is coming down to last, but it's not last second. It's just a preseason. No, don't feed me that. This was, a show match here, or a show weekend where Blizzard was showing off the Overwatch League and testing things out.
yeah.
And I if they want me to take him as serious as they are trying to portray themselves, Lepelos, then the Mendo thing can't really happen. Like, why am I honestly looking at Twitter and Mendo talking with some fan who says, "Hey, I'll drive you down to Mexico and back if you need it." Man, come on,
Yeah,
man,
but
really,
it's not just them though. I mean,
really,
like,
Lepelos.
you look at, since we're sort of talking generalities in terms of management, we had the Sato incident
Yeah,
previously. And this week, Jack, we've learned that we have another couple of issues coming out of the Shanghai Dragons with account sharing, if you want to call it that.
at least it was not with malicious intent,
No,
Lepelos.
it was not malicious intent. They have sanctioned their own player, but they're waiting on the league to respond to them. Jax, I don't know what the league's going to do.
He's got Lepelos. I mean, here's the deal. He Undead and who was the other guy? Zushu. I
Yeah,
don't see how they don't get banned, at least for a few games. I really don't. They hit Sato with such a huge ban. Fine, he was doing it for profit. Blah blah blah. Right, that's fine.
yeah.
They hit him with what? 30
30
games,
games. Yeah,
Lepelos.
30
30
games for Sato.
games.
Yeah,
So for this, I
on
mean,
top
yes, it's
of
not.
the preseason too, I think, right? Not just preseason, not just
I mean,
30 games.
it's not malicious, but they broke the rules. They broke, they don't want account sharing is a big deal. Blizzard doesn't want people doing that. And I don't
No,
see how
yeah,
Nate Nanzer doesn't hit them. And for a team like Shanghai, who I think is already in a very tough spot here, to lose Undead and Zushu for any number of games, Lepelos,
it's going to hurt
they're
them.
done. They're crippled from
They,
the start.
it's definitely shooting themselves in the foot to start the season based off of a couple of their players' actions, and that sucks. And we talk about professionalism in the league, and that's a poor way to begin. I mean, the league hasn't exactly started off the best foot with management either, though, right? Like, we can talk about, at least, who was it, the Valiant that had to get, or was it Shock had to get rid of their manager because of.
Hey, Lepelos, that's drama. I mean,
But my point is, like, what
you're
I'm
right.
trying to say
Yeah,
is, we're
it
not
was a
even
shock.
into the regular first season, and we've had a number of instances like this. And we
They're
barely made
growing
it through
pains, right?
preseason
Okay.
right now.
Can we give them the whole growing pain excuse where it's a new league, a new organization, Lepelos? It's they're still feeling themselves out.
Well,
We give them a little some leeway here.
yeah, well, no. I mean, I would like to have a leeway of $20 million, Jax. Like, unfortunately, I don't think you give that much money out and then you get this quality of management. I'm not impressed.
Okay,
overall.
Leplos.
So, Jax, why don't we
Yeah.
get into some of the games, though, starting on day one, and talk about some of the teams going through. First game starting was Mayhem versus Shock. I think I picked Mayhem in this one. I do not remember what you
I want
picked.
to point out San Francisco Shock. I give them props for stepping up and filling the slot that Philadelphia was
Yeah.
unable to meet Lepalos.
Oh, this could have been how brutal if they said no to this, or if they didn't get a team. Like some team was going to fill in, but
Yeah.
if you started off with a forfeited game because of Fusion not participating, that would have been horrible, man. But thankfully, Shock stepped up, and they did step up, Jax. It wasn't that close of a series overall.
Lepalos, just run it down right quick. Taking a look at this first game here. Dorado 2-1 San Francisco.
Yep.
Temple of Anubis 4-3 San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oasis 2-1 San Francisco. At this point, Lepalos, the series is over.
The series is over, and they still have to play the fourth map, of course, Jax.
I
And
don't really
Mayhem
like
do
that,
take
but
that
okay.
map, by the way, with a pretty good play on their side, in order
But
to hold.
to start out here, Lepalos, you would have to say this. Wait, you said you took San Francisco?
I took Mayhem on this one because I was
Yeah.
expecting their
Bit of an
previous.
upset. Like let's be honest here. The Florida Mayhem, formerly Misfits, right? Number one team in EU Contender Season 1 regular season, finished second in the playoffs. So pretty high level team here. San Francisco Shock, a mismatch of everything, Lepalos.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the UN teams. But Jax, the other thing I want to mention briefly, I don't want you to comment on it now because we can save this till the end. Widowmaker's coming out here on Dorado
Lepalos,
off the
please.
start.
Please.
Off the start
Oh.
and making an impact one way or another throughout the whole game, whether they're good or
Yeah.
bad. They were out for both teams quite often. Anubis, there was Widows out again. I mean, it's something we're seeing a lot of. Anyways,
It's
though,
something
Jax,
we're seeing a lot of, something I'm not the biggest fan of, but we'll get into it a little bit later on, Lepalos. But the one thing that I did want to point out here, one of the things we were questioning about San Francisco Shock was who's going to be the off tank. You look at the lineup here, or their roster of available players, because Super and Sinatra are ineligible due to age. But they had Doc, Baby Bay, Dante, IDDQD, Nevix, Nomi, and Sleepy. Nomi is the only tank here, Lepalos.
yeah.
And so when they come out here, one of the first things I said, because I am a Nevix fan, I had to ask you, why is Nevix playing Diva? I'm not a fan of DPS players playing Diva. And then Lepalos, Nevix goes and proves me wrong. He plays a pretty good Diva.
Absolutely, and he played that off tank position, flex tank, whatever you want to call it. He played it well throughout.
This is only
the whole
preseason,
weekend.
Lepalos.
Yeah, and he played.
But I
he's
have to
well
ask
practiced on it though.
you,
And
is Nevix the most flexible player in Overwatch? When we first saw him, right, Atlantic Showdown, he's playing Zen, Lepalos. E-League, he's playing DPS and support. Now, he's playing off tank.
I think in proven positions, like obviously everyone who thinks they're great in Overwatch or thinks they're fit or their hero in Overwatch player is the best player will say, oh yeah, of course, Ryu Jaehong could play a great flex tank if he wanted to. Nevix has shown that across multiple heroes, and that's something that sets him apart.
It's
I'm not saying he's the greatest at any one thing though,
No.
Jax. Like I'm not going to say that, but
No.
he played every position that he's played at a high level, like average to above average, and consistent at that.
So the thing that I want to bring up, though, is that specifically when it comes to versatility in San Francisco Shock, is the coach Brad. He has said that when building the roster, they wanted a lot of flexible players, Lepalos. They didn't want people who fit into their positions too rigidly.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Nevix here, and I'm saying, well, this is exactly what they want. Someone, because the meta is ever changing, and so with Nevix, they have someone who can play off tank, he can DPS, and if if you ever want to bring out the 303 Lepalos, you can feel comfortable in sliding him into that support role, whether it's a Zen or if a Sombra. Yes, Sombra's DPS, but let's be real, she's actually another support player. And I see now what the San Francisco Shock are trying to do. Am I sold on it? No, I am not. I still have serious questions going forward, but for this first game against Florida, they did their job, Lepalos. So that if I'm Florida, if I'm a fan of the Florida Mayhem, I'm very worried.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a fair thing. But Shock get their first win. Jax, they're in a sort of a double header here. They have Valiant up next, and
Let
this
me
one.
ask you, why? Why did they have to go second? You mean to tell me you couldn't just change the schedule and move Seoul versus Shanghai into the second slot?
Jax,
Just give them a break, Lepalose.
I agree with you. I don't know why, but you know what? Shock do make a pretty good run at Valiant here. This ended up being a pretty close game here. I'm going to go through the results just map wise. You know, on Junkertown we had Valiant taking Junkertown. Lunar Horizon Colony, we had Shock taking that one. A little back and forward here.
Did you say Lunar Horizon Colony, or is it Horizon Lunar Colony?
I totally messed those words up. We on Ilios, this was actually a really close one. All rounds going 199, but it was Shock that managed to take this one after dropping that first round of Lighthouse. So they ended up taking their second map on Ilios. Valiant tied up on Bonnie after both teams getting into second attacks there, and Valiant doing a good hold in order to secure themselves an easy capture of that final push. And then that brought us to a tiebreaker map, Jax, because they were stuck at 2-2. And that was, of course, on Lijiang. Jax, I want to say this now. We actually saw a number of tiebreakers, all of them, I believe, on Lijiang.
I was just about to ask, do we know the format for the regular game? Tell me it's not going to be this 4.
It's for sure going to be this 4-4.
Regular season will consist of 4 maps. Yeah. I don't like this, Lepalose. I don't like it because in season 1 of Contenders we had Envy multiple games, win 3 games, right? And in the 4th game it's over, whatever. They tried new strats, they did weird things and they lost randomly. Yeah. But it didn't matter because the series was over. Of course, it does matter because overall map scoreline matters. But I don't like this 4-map format. I really don't. Give me a best of 5, Lepalose, okay? Give me a best of 5. I'm good with that.
I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of the 4-game set, although I think it's to make sure that the length of time of game is similar between.
I get it, but Lepalose, okay, you're giving me 2 Koth, potentially 2 Koth every time.
They want to do yeah, okay, that's something aside, but potentially 2 Koth, whatever. Okay, what they want to do is enforce the people having to go through certain maps. That's the goal of the 4.
I saw a Reddit thread that asked them to bring back map picks and bans like we used to have.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Back with the Gosu days.
Not gonna happen.
Would you want to see that back though?
No, because you know what happens when these teams get to pick?
Yeah,
they all pick Koth. They all pick Koth all the time because nobody wants to have a strategy of dealing with the payload. They just want to frag out.
They really do not have the confidence for that. But that being said, Lepalose, the LA Valiant take this one 3-2. Again, I'm impressed. San Francisco Shock lost, but I'm impressed by the fight that they put up here. Looking at the Valiant, Lepalose, this is a team we were all wondering about because the Valiant were Immortals in season 1. The core of the Valiant are the Immortals team, the previous Immortals team. I do want to say Agility's unable to play due to the age restriction levels. He will be back, I think, come the regular season. Yeah, but they have brought in Soon. They have brought in Unco. I think, did we see Numlock? Maybe not this day.
Everyone had to play that was available.
Right. I'm trying to. I don't remember Numlock, but I don't know. That's just the way Numlock is most of the time. The best pickup for them is Unco. I've not tried to hide it up. I've always been an Unco fan. His DPS on Zen is fantastic, and he will be a large part of whether or not the Valiant succeed in this season. His play throughout the preseason to me was fantastic.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Unco, very, very strong play. On the flip side, if you want to talk maybe someone I wasn't too impressed with, Grim Reality, unfortunately, when he did get subbed in, I didn't feel like
now
at the level that I'd want him to. So I feel like he's a legacy player right now, if I was to be honest.
I have a number, I had a number of quote-unquote questions that I have. So these are going to be questions for Lepalose. Yeah. One of them was going to be, what role does Grim Reality fit
legacy
here?
Player.
Because Lepalose, let's be real, man. His Soldier, probably not as good as Silk Thread, okay? Yeah. His Tracer, not as good as Soon. That leaves McCree, and I'm not even sure he's the best McCree. My question was going to be to you, has Grim Reality peaked? He's, 18, 19 years old, Lepalose. Has he peaked as a professional Overwatch player?
He has to dig deep right now and work on self-improvement, and you're young. People can go anywhere with their potential. He has potential. We've seen him perform incredibly high on McCree. he has the ability to go out there and be a top tier player. You know.
Okay, but Leplos, here's the deal though. This is preseason, fine. Everybody has to play. That's a
Yeah.
rule. Come the regular season, when you're fighting for these playoff spots and money is on the line,
Yeah.
where do you put him in?
No, you don't put him in until he has shown improvement.
The scrim results, which we don't have access to. But okay.
I mean, until he's showing consistent results in scrim, and that's why I don't think you saw him, except for on King of the Hill, Jax.
Right.
Anyways,
and his Widowmaker, I'm sorry to say,
Widowmaker was not there either. But
so that's grim. And then I'm looking down there at Verbo Lepelos, and the Kariv Unco partnership on support was really interesting.
Yeah.
I think they still want Verbo for the Lucio. Because
But
he
Lucio's not
might
as
be the
meta
better
as it used to
Lucio,
be.
but we saw a lot of Mercy, I saw a lot of Zen here, and I'm not gonna say Verbo is surplus, but because honestly no, I'm not gonna say that because you do want a Lucio.
Yeah, and Verbo is a really good Lucio. It's when you talk about him on other supports, he doesn't really have a place because of the quality of Kariv and Unco being so good. Like, unless Verbo is doing something really good by shot calling that the others that cannot be made up by the remaining members of Valiant.
The other person I'm really interested in is he's not playing is Space for the off tank because I am not the biggest Envy fan. He's too inconsistent for me. He has his.
I thought you weren't the biggest Fate fan either, though. Jax.
I mean, here's the deal.
I thought this
look
was
at
one
who
of
they
my
have for main
questions for
tank,
Jax.
I'll take Fate over Numlock. I'm just being honest.
Yep.
Numlock had one shining moment with Envision. Props to him for making it work because he got a paycheck now.
Yeah.
Congrats for that. But he's another one I need to see level up because right now I'm taking Fate over Numlock. And let me see, when is Space? Space's birthday is March 28th. So they'll have to go through a portion of the season without Space. But once Space is available and he's there for that off-tank Lepelos, Diva, Roadhog, Zarya, I'm really interested in seeing what the Valiant can do. But congrats to them for taking this win over the San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, and that puts us into the final match of the first day, Jax. And this one's a quick one, let's be honest. Dynasty versus Dragons. This is not really worth talking about.
Shanghai, number of players got in late, but at least they got there. They had no scrims. They had no scrims prior to this. They're facing what is quite possibly the best team in the world, Lepelos. 3-2 Soul on Dorado, 4-3 Temple of Anubis, 2-0 Oasis, 3-1 Eichenwald.
This was like a show match for the Dynasty team. They're just having their way with Dragons. And if you're Dragons, you're feeling not very good from yourselves after this one. Like, and that's what a way to start your preseason, Jax. Like having to go up against dynasties like this. Out of practice and everything. Like you can toss excuses. You don't want to start like this all the same. The only positive I can say for the Dragons is that they managed to capture out Anubis all the way through one time. They had a minute 52 on the clock when they did. I mean, granted, Dynasty had 5:30 on the clock when they captured out, but you got through on Dragons, and that's
a lot
not
of people don't
easy.
make it. Yeah, well, very true.
So that is like the only thing that happened positively for them, and that was largely because I think Dia did a number of picks off of his Widowmaker. I think he was running, if I remember, for that attack.
The first day Dia popped off, but Dia formerly, he came from Vici, I believe, right? That was the player that Vici lost that they really wish they had not lost. Was it Miracle? Where did he come from?
I can't remember. What I do know, Jax, was this is the first signs of Fleta coming to new heights, shall we say?
Levels. We knew what Fleta had, right? Fleta was the best team on Flash Lux. We saw him in the show match at the Soul Cup against MY. Everybody's like, I have said. This is if Fleta had been with Lunatic High throughout the Overwatch season so far, I don't think they would have lost Lepalose. He brings the hit scan that they did not have with Eska. He was
very good. He was very, very good. Jax,
I do want to come back to Shanghai when we get to their second match against Boston because
I don't think this one is worth talking about anymore. No. And they actually show up again beyond the. Shanghai have the Dragons versus Uprising match, and then we also have the Dynasty versus Outlaws, as well as Dynasty versus Excelsior. So we get to see Dynasty a couple times.
The next game, the first game of day two features my team, the Los Angeles Gladiators. I remember I said at the end of last week, I can't go with the Valiant. I have to go with the Gladiators because their owner Stan Kroenke owns the Rams, and the Rams are building a stadium near where I live. So the whole geographical thing, I have to go with the Gladiators. Plus, I like purple over the Valiant gold, and the Valiant have too much mercy going on. I can't get down with that. But you have to be honest, the Gladiators are one of those teams we have serious questions about when we stop to take a look at this roster.
Yeah, I mean, there's questions about, but Jax, they're facing the Spitfires. Some have argued that Spitfires were going to sit atop of the league in some formulations of people's.
I mean, look, the Spitfires, depending on how you want to place them, they have
they have
best team in Korea with GC Busan, or the second best team, or the third best team. They have a fantastic roster of players, but Lepalose, can they put it all together? That was the question that we had, and I'm sorry to say that when this started, I didn't see what I wanted to see from them, because I saw GC Busan on a map, and then I saw C9 Kongdu on a map, and then I saw GC Busan again. Yeah. I want to see a mixture here. I want,
Which tells me that they're still separate, right? Like that's how they're clearly coaching them. If they're saying this is a GC Busan roster, this is a Kongdu Panthera roster, we're gonna send them out on their own, right? Like that's showing you that
this is a costly team. Jack went out and bought two of the three best teams in Korea here, and from what I'm hearing, he's paying them quite well as well. So the salary is up there. So when I heard that it was going to be GC Busan and it was going to be C9 Kongdu, one of the things that I wanted to take a look at, well, not really take a look at, but I just wanted to see how this GC Busan London Spitfire team performed Lepos without their coach. Again, I have talked about it. We've talked about it, how coaching plays such a big part in Korean Overwatch with the preparation and the tactics and all that goes with it. Their coach, Lepos, a big part of the reason why they beat Lunatic Iowa, they beat all those teams. That coach is no longer there. He's with Seoul now. So I wanted to see what happened when they didn't have him to help, carry them along. And let's take a look at let's run it down, Lepos. That first map, which was the GC Busan roster on Junkertown, 3-1 LA Gladiators.
Can we just mention Bastion for Surefour here did a serious amount of work? I mean, Asher
Lepos, you said Surefour was overrated. He was outdated.
Got debated. But 346 on the time when Gladiators capped out here, Jax, they did not even get into the third point for the side of the Spitfires on Junkertown. That was not a good start for the Spitfires, Jax.
No, not at all.
Let's be honest. Spitfires do come right back on Horizon Lunar Colony. Did I get it right this time, Jax? I think I did.
Horizon Lunar Colony, but you had to point out this was C9 Kongdu. This was the other side of the team stepping in to bring it back, to even it up.
And I mean, 2CP though, Jax. Here, Gladiators struggling with that B point take.
Yeah, we
mentioned this maybe in our pre-podcast, but we're talking about the Ninja cap. No, this is actually in the initial portion of our podcast today. We're talking about this specific portion here, which is the Ninja capping that Gladiators gave up on point A.
They gave up 2 ticks.
Yeah, you can't have that happen. Unfortunately,
see, I say 2 ticks, but here's the deal: the very next fight after they got 2 ticks, London does it again. What happens? The Gladiators are forced to react. So instead of being the initiators on defense, Lepalose, which I think you want to do, they have to then react to them on the point. It doesn't end well, and the map doesn't end well for them. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, it doesn't. Spitfire taking that second one. Ilios also not going their way. Very, very quick time on Ilios here.
I think was Ilios back to the GC Busan roster?
I think GC Busan was back in here. It looks like
they were in Nambani, if I remember right.
Yeah, I
believe so. Yes.
I don't have beyond the GC Busan coming in for Ilios.
I'm pretty sure it was GC Busan on Ilios, which they took 2-0, and then Nambani, which was a pretty good map that went 5-4 to the Los Angeles Gladiators, Lepalose. And then we go to our favorite tiebreaker, which brought us back to C9 Kongdu, and the Gladiators taking that 1-0 for what you would have to say is the biggest upset so far of the preseason.
Yeah, and Jax, your favorite person to comment on Hydration there coming in for. Listen, I know you're not a big Hydration fan, but he did enough work here on the Farah on Garden to help win them that round. That was 100-0, Jax. You can't deny
people
results.
Okay,
can you?
Here, I can. You know, I have to pick my spots at where I want to talk. 'Cause this was the important match for the Gladiators
Yes.
here. Yes, they had a big rivalry game later on, but this was the big one. The Gladiators going forward will have problems. Levels. One, I think Bishu was sick this weekend, so he wasn't at 100%. The problem that I have with that is it highlights the limited roster that the Gladiators are running with. They have 7 players. Only team with fewer than them are the
Mayhem.
Florida Mayhem
Yep.
with 6 Lepalos. Now, if you take a look at the Gladiator roster, Sure 4, Asher, Hydration, Bishu, Iremix, Shaz, and Big Goose. Shaz, for me, stepped up in a way I really, really wanted him to. His Zenyatta play, I don't want to sound like Doa, but I'm a huge fan of the DPS Zenyatta. Shaz played fantastic this
Yeah,
weekend. Big Goose,
absolutely.
I can't really fault Big
He
Goose.
he
Big
had,
Goose did,
he had some good moments. Big Goose for sure too. He stood out.
but
Asher did so,
at
he had some really great plays at moments.
levels, what you think about what you just said? He had some really great plays from Asher with this small roster. What I need to see from him is top level tracer play. He's a tracer player.
Consistently, he
I
needs
need to
be,
see
yeah.
consistent high level play from him because as much as I like Sure and I like to troll you for saying he's overrated and outdated, Sure is not bringing it like he did on Cloud9.
No.
I'm sorry, he's not. He's a great player, but from what I've seen from him so far, is not the Sure of old that would carry maps Lepalos with some of his plays. And I'm looking at this team, right, and I'm saying Sure I don't think he's not going to hurt you. Sure is going to do his job, but he's not going to, his carry potential for me has gone down so much. Asher, I need to see consistent play from him. And then I come to Hydration Lepalos, and I have to ask you, what is he supposed to do besides play Pharah? He played Genji. It was It was an average Genji. He flexed to the Roadhog, I think, once or twice. It was an average Roadhog. Yes, his fair play is great. Yes, he had that good moment that you're calling out here, Lepalos.
No.
But
as I said earlier, I think his Roadhog, as I said, it was decent. It wasn't horrible. I agree with you. Ideally, you want a flex tank in this composition.
I mean, that's Bishu, but
Yeah, but you can't if you're talking about adding depth to your roster, so you can get I don't want to say a specialist, but like say Bishu is a great Zarya player that can also do Diva a bit or whatever.
You know what?
Maybe you want a Roadhog that can also do Reinhardt or Winston.
Believe it or not, I'm just this person who I'm thinking about doesn't really do Reinhardt or Winston. But the way I have my monitor set up, I have Twitch, I have your Twitch up, and the people who I follow. One, I have Hardblue up there. Hardblue is not the person I was thinking about, but now that I say it, Hardblue on that flex does work Lepalos. There's Emong. Emong is another flex. What do we know from Emong out there? Emong, he did the Roadhog thing with Selfless. He was also a pretty good diva with Selfless. I don't know why people have pigeonholed him into the Roadhog slot. Emong's diva play was really good and really important in protecting Defran and allowing Defran to do what Defran does, is kill people when he was playing Soldier back then. But if you take a look, if you think about flex tanks that are available in the mid-season signing period, Lepalos, I'm just saying, Hardblue, you want a Roadhog, you want a Diva, you want a Zarya, Hardblue is your flex tank, right? Outside of that flex tank, I think Hardblue needs to work on his hero pool if he wants to be a true overall flex player. Same with Emong. But if you want a flex tank, Emong, another one that's out there.
Jax, let's go ahead and move on, though, beyond this discussion.
Okay, Lepalose, Gladiators.
Gladiators definitely have potential, though. Like, you can't beat Spitfire and not say that they have potential here. That's really good of them.
Preseason, though, Lepalose, but you're right. Okay.
I mean, they showed that they can compete on that level. I have doubts, too. I mean, I have doubts about Gladiators, and we fortunately get to see them in another.
This is my team, Lepalose. Hey, I'm trying to help them out here. Hopefully, their coach and their analysts are listening to the Overwatch Rundown for that keen insight that we are providing them for free. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, for free. It's if you want to toss us some love, always let us know on Twitter that you're watching. But
they have 3 coaches.
We need all those internet points that you get, though, right?
You have 3 coaches for 7 players. Take us on to the next game, Lepalose.
We had second game, also another really close and interesting game, was the Battle of Texas, Jax, where we had Dallas Fuel take on the Houston Outlaws.
Okay.
Both teams' first games of the preseason. And it was, as I said, pretty close here. Outlaws actually coming out and surprised me off the start here on Dorado, winning this one with, I want to say, a particularly good defense / Widowmaker play coming out again, and Taimu being a bit flat, to be honest, on his Widow versus Lynxer's Widow. I don't know what else to say about that, Jax. We've mentioned Widows. We're going to keep on mentioning Widows.
Yeah.
Outlaws take that map. We move on to Anubis here. Anubis, Jax, a really long Anubis. And this one was pretty close too. Let's be honest. In both teams getting through their first attacks, 430 for the Fuel, 409 for the Outlaws. But big story here, Fuel hold out on Outlaws attack to 3 points and 96.4%, Jax.
Yeah.
That is huge. You know, you're talking under 4% because all Fuel need to do is come back in. Fuel getting some pressure with Taimu landing a pick on Lynxer, who I think had Dragon Blade ready, if my notes here are correct, and Fuel able to take it basically from that point on to make that percentage, take the second map, putting us onto Oasis. Oasis, it was sort of a strange Oasis. I'm just going to run down the score lines. 119 University, 142 Gardens, 100 O City Center for Fuel for the last two maps. So Outlaws taking that first one really quickly, and then Fuel responding to take that third map. Eichenwald, Outlaws able to win out on this map. I want to say, actually, it's a pretty big defense here by Outlaws in the third phase because, they managed to hold out in the third phase pretty well against the Fuel here. That sets them up for a quick attack through A and B, points on Eichenwald, and they had 5 minutes, Jax. They required a bit of time there to take it, but forced us to a game 5. Lijiang Towers again, Jax. Lijiang Towers. Close one. 199 Outlaws on Night Market, 199 Garden for Fuel. It goes all the way, Jax. This all the way to the distance to 138 for Fuel on Control Center.
I am just going to, just short on time, I'm going to link both the Dallas games together here for my rundown here, Lepalose. This is Coach Kai trying to figure out what he can get away with.
Yes.
Through both games here, this is not the Dallas Fuel that I expect to see come regular season. This is not the Dallas Fuel that we saw in season one. Actually, we did see this Dallas Fuel. This was NV Dallas Fuel, one and the same. Yeah. We did see this from them in contenders a number of times, Lepalose, because I previously mentioned how they would win 3 games, and in the 4th game they would go off and do something not meta. And this whole weekend was Dallas Fuel being not meta, because at one point, Lepalose, there was no XQC, there was no Coco, but there was Taimu playing Winston. There, I don't even know what to say about that, Lepalose. This was, but this is what it's for, right? They got this expanded roster because they want to see what they can come up with. I think at one point this weekend we saw the old school triple support on Junkertown.
On Junkertown when Fuel took on
very
Mayhem.
well, did it, Lepalose?
No, it absolutely didn't work.
Exactly.
Although we'll come to that matchup, and we.
But I do say things that I did like was Mickey on the Orisa, effect on the Zarya. I'm critical of DPS players playing Zarya. I'm gonna say this. Effect, like so many other DPS players, he can play Zarya to do damage very well. That's fine. But going forward, I'm more interested in the projected barriers, how he uses those. The Gravitons, does he get good value from the levels? This is a preseason weekend where I can't really give you an answer to that.
Yeah.
But his DPS, his damage on Zarya was pretty good, like it is with Sinatra, like it was with all the other players. Baby Bay, they all do that very well. But the synergy between Mickey and Effect when they were doing the Orisa Zarya, like the casters pointed it out, with the halt that Mickey was throwing out all the time, Lepalose, fantastic. He would pull a little mini Graviton, and then Effect would come in, bang, bang with high energy Zarya. And then at one point, I think we had Taimu playing the Roadhog again, but that's, no surprise there. Taimu plays a really good Roadhog. Kai is just trying to figure it out. The thing that I wanted to ask you, though, Lepalose, it's almost as if Dallas is a different team when they have XQC in it maintained compared to Coco.
Yeah.
XQC a lot more. He's looser, right? He's free. He's wild. He's unchained. Whereas Coco very reserved. You kind of he's methodical about it, right? And I wanted to ask you, which do you think? Is there? Do you think that they'll do better, or is there any benefit to them? Like when would they benefit for running XQC over Coco?
Yeah, so I think okay, so I'm going to answer this in sort of two parts. So the first thing I want to say is yes, I think there is value in having two very conceptually different styles of play on your
Okay.
team, right? Because you can basically come out and either respond to a team, like say you're going up against the Mayhem, which are for whatever reason gone back into their triple tank setup for whatever reason. You know that you can get away with more aggression, so you might want to go with that kind of one. Whereas like, which would be XQC for in this case for fuel. Um, on the other hand, there might be times where you want some more methodical play. That's what Coco gets you, as you were saying, just to echo there. So there's reasons why you might want both of them. Certain maps favor certain styles of play. So, first thing I was saying is there's players and teams that might favor certain styles of play against them, like
Right.
counterplay. And then there's certain styles of map that favor certain styles of play, I think, too. Um,
I was watching this, and as much as I like Coco, with the strategy that or lack of strategy that Coach Kai Kai was working with this weekend, XQC seemed to fit a little bit better because Envy was all yes, Envy Dallas was all over the place, and
yeah,
to me that's how you describe XQC. He
absolutely.
is literally all over the place, and I think this is actually really good for them to have this option, Leplos, because I mean, yes, you can prepare for, people have tried to prepare for, NV Dallas, and, it's often failed. But now, when you have someone like XUC who literally just defies what you expect him to do, it gives Coach Kai Kai a number of options. And when I look at well balanced rosters, I really, really like what Dallas has here, Lepelos,
Yeah,
because I look at Seagull and I put him into the same category as I do Hydration, but that's only because they're both mainly known for their fair play. But I think Seagull has a better Genji. I think his Junkrat. I know his Junkrat is better, and I I think Seagull is just a flat out better player in that flex position. But then I look at Custa. I love the pickup of Custa for his support play because, Harry Hook,
yeah,
his Zen at times is okay, but Custa, like, Custa is a support guy. Harry Hook is more of a flex guy for me. And it's just how they approach those heroes and how they play them is radically different just because, just
yeah,
because that's how they play the game. And the number of options that Coach Kai Kai has here, right? Like, we were wondering, is he going to bench Taimu and what kind of drop off do they? Because Taimu, has been the voice of the team. And at times, you talk about those carry moments and Taimu pulls out the Widowmaker and he takes off 5 heads and boom, they've got it done. And now I'm looking at the Dallas Fuel and I'm saying he's got a number of options that he can play with, and all of them are good.
yeah. It's definitely a lot of fun if you're a coach. On the other side, the Outlaws, they're showing up and competing. As I said, I think,
Uppos,
or as you were saying,
I mean,
Fuel, I think we're playing around. Outlaws,
yeah,
we're
I
competing
really
with them,
do.
playing around.
Yeah,
So take that as you will. Don't worry, we have more Outlaw stuff up and coming. Why don't we go to last match of the
go
day,
for it.
though?
Can speed through this
Day
one,
two.
but
Excelsior versus Uprising, Jax. The only good thing I have to say about Uprising in this map is in this matchup is they actually took a map, and that was
okay.
Oasis of all maps, Jackson. That means you're competing on largely on frags. What they're not showing was a particularly good strategies coming out on some of
Let's
the
be
other
honest.
maps.
For me, the bread and butter is the payload, the hybrid maps, Lepelos. So let's just
Let's
take
talk
a look
about
at it
them.
then, right?
Dorado and Eichenwald with
Okay.
where the payload and the hybrid respectively. They did a decent defense in the third section of. Oh, actually, you know what? No, that's a bit untrue. Uprising did do pretty good defense overall, right? Each of the
Hmm.
sections, though, they gave up in OT to the Excelsior here, and that speaks to a problem that we talk about on the Overwatch rundown quite often, which is an issue of closing out and that killer instinct. However you want to say it, you let 3 points go in OT, Jax. Those are three fights, key fights that you needed to win in OT, and you lost all of them to allow New York Excelsior to push through
You're
all the
not wrong.
distance.
Yeah.
That shows to me a bit of an issue. So while they were having good defenses up until that point, they were not clutch in the end. and I think that's more evident when they go on attack here on Dorado. Can't make a point, right? Like while they were able to win fights on defense, their strategy about how to approach them just couldn't bring it all together when they had to go on attack. So they're missing something in their approach to some of the maps here.
Coming into this, people had a lot of doubts about Boston. I think everybody looked at this roster and they're wondering, Huck, what are you doing? You know, the number of memes I was seeing, because the owner Robert Kraft owns the Patriots, and the Patriots, when it comes to preparation levels, there's very few teams that are better. Yeah, the Patriots lost last night in Monday Night Football, but overall, the last 10 years they've been the winningest team in football, and a lot of that is the front office and the teams that they put together. And when you look at Boston, and it just looks like a collective mess. I said it looks like a collective mess. I'm still not sure it isn't a mess, but after this first map, I'm leaning more towards it being an actual mess. Striker coming into this, a lot of people highlighted him as someone to look out for. Fine, Striker is fine, right? He is perfectly. He's a great DPS. Dream Casper.
He did
He did.
at times too.
He did. See, just think about listen to what you just said, Lepalose.
no.
He did well at times. That's not enough, dude. Come on.
It's not enough if you're going to be a top tier team. Let's cut to the chase here. Uprising looking like they're going to be in the bottom half after watching their play right now.
Lepalose. He's being honest though, people. He's being honest.
It's clear that these guys can compete, which I'm happy about. They didn't get dominated here. They took a map, as I said. They took a map where fight wins were important, right? And fragging out. They can compete here, Jax. Boston has said it's about, working themselves up and like building themselves up, Jax, and that looks like what they're working with, right? They have potential here. Their consistency is not there, and their level of the play throughout, just not on the same level of Excelsior. But the fact is, they did compete in a number of ways, and just because they didn't take more off of Excelsior doesn't mean there's not potential for that in the future. I'm still not expecting a lot out of them, so my expectations come regular season are pretty low. And I think that's realistic considering how you're looking at their performance. They can surprise me,
right?
Because they can show that. Here they come out and take a map.
The thing that just came to my mind is Boston has the potential to be the Vici Gaming of the Overwatch League, Lepalose.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where on any given day they can beat anyone. But if we're talking about underperforming, if we're talking about lack of results, Lepalose, let's just go to day 3. Look at the first game of day 3, where we have the London Spitfire versus the San Francisco Shock, and I have to ask you, what happened to the San Francisco Shock that we saw in day 1 that beat Florida, that pushed LA Valiant to 5 maps, Lepalose?
Let's just put it this way. I'm going to cut to one of the things that happened on Anubis, the second map.
Okay.
First map, though, Dorado, they lose badly. 2 minutes to Spitfire when they capture out. I'll put it that way. When they need to make the distance, they still had 2 minutes on the clock in the third phase of Dorado to make that out. So let's just cut to Anubis. Spitfire have 3 minutes and 11 seconds to get a third of a point on A. And Jax Shock get baited hard into a room with EMP away from their Widowmaker. What are you doing, Shock? What are you doing? You have a third. You're taking an aggressive stance when you have a Widowmaker in your lineup. I don't know what you're doing when you know there's going to be a hacked health pool or a health pack in that room. I mean, great smart play from Spitfire. Not smart play from the side of Shock. Well done, but also poorly done, depending on your angle of
limited on time. I look at this score line, which went 4-0 for London, 3-2 Dorado, 3-2 Temple of Anubis, 2-0 Oasis, 3-2 Eichenwald. This is what I expected from the San Francisco Shock. Now, that being said, everybody can have a bad day, right? This was their bad day, but I'm hoping that they have more days like the first one than they do this one. Baby Bay has stepped it up in a rather big way here. We knew he was good, right? He has always produced the damage. I was surprised by the variety that he had in levels. I didn't know his Widowmaker was this good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he played projectile. I knew he was a hit scan guy, right? I knew he was a Zarya guy. His projectile play on Pharah and Genji, and even Junkrat at times, was very good. He played all of these heroes. And going forward, when you pair him with Mr. 150K when he becomes eligible in the middle of season 1, Lepalose, I think that from a DPS standpoint, the San Francisco Shock are pretty good. I've already said Nevix in the flex tank is pretty good. I have to see how Super works in once he becomes eligible. Nomi, I think, is okay. He wasn't bad. He actually he played better than when I saw him play for Immortals previously. But going forward, I don't think Nomi is the main tank that carries them to any any silverware, any trophies here in Overwatch League. The support play again was fine, but they are. Okay, Sleepy actually did impress me a couple times. But the support play was not. I measure support play by Ryu Jae-hung and Toby, right? Those kind of duos, or Shaz and Big Goose, who I'm not saying they're as good as Ryu Jae-hung and Toby, but Shaz and Big Goose impressed me quite a bit this weekend. And the San Francisco Shock support, I think they have the potential to get there. This team, though, will have to meet our consistency check, Lepalose. And I doubt their ability to do that. That's the biggest thing. Like I don't want to give everybody the Vici Gaming tag, but this team, like the burst that they have with their DPS is phenomenal. And I'm looking at it, Dante, okay, but I don't know what purpose Dante serves once Sinatra is available.
I look at this team and still put them in the middle of the pack, right? Like where I don't think they're going to do horribly, like Uprising or Dragons will, but I don't expect them to suddenly become amazingly better and compete with, on regular basis, Dynasty Fuel and maybe Spitfire. I put in that third spot or something like that.
If Baby Bay is unable to explode, then I wonder. But I really want to see what they do when they have 150K. I want to see how this team works with Super and his aggression, because we know Super, right?
Yeah.
Super, he's really in your face, and I think he can create a lot of space.
On the flip side, though, let's talk about Spitfire in this matchup here. Like they came out and did what they had to, like both lineups, like through and through. I think it was Kongdu Panthera largely playing most of this matchup, and they showed up a lot better this time.
I want to see. They have so many players that I don't. What do you do with this team? Like they have so many options, Lepalose, that
they could basically form an all-star team and play both sides of the game.
Lepalose, I'm looking at main tanks here, a Fisher and Gesture. Yeah. Are you kidding me, dude? You want to just talk DPS then, Lepalose? Birdring, Rascal, Prophet, and Hureg.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All of these dudes are fantastic.
I mean, you could literally form another Overwatch League team with half of Spitfire, which goes again crazy to say the Gladiators beat them on day 2, regardless of whatever.
I want to know how much of that is nerfs, because a number of these, I don't think any of them, none of these players were on the World Cup team, right? So, is this their first? I guess
no. They've definitely played lands. Maybe it was being in a new country and.
Honestly, I mean, Lepalose. When you said they played lands, maybe they went to China, but this is going from Korea, to Korea, China, same hemisphere, not the hemisphere, but same area, same region here. Now we're going to across the world. They're going to a different country,
still in the same hemisphere.
Different. Okay, fine, Lepalose.
All right.
But different region, different environment. Like the atmosphere of a LAN is different, right? So let's be honest, this is the biggest stage that there is right now, right? This is Overwatch League. Like this is your moment right here. And I'm wondering how much what we saw in that first game was just, jitters, and now they're settling. But going forward, I don't want to keep I guess if they win like this, then it doesn't matter. They can keep doing the C9 Kongdu and GC Busan. Yeah. I really, really though want to see a mixture of this. I want to see these coaches, right? You've got 3 coaches here. Bishop, formerly of Cloud9, right? The people, Reddit they're all over Bishop on Reddit, but that's Reddit for you. But that being said, Lepalose, he has been given a tremendous pool of talent. What they're doing right now to me is lazy. I want to see a team, a I want to see a team that can beat the Dynasty, that can beat Dallas. I have not seen that team just yet.
Yeah.
But they got the players to do it.
Oh,
Next
Jax,
series.
that brings
They
us
got
up to the next match. Let's go ahead and move on to it. Dynasty versus Outlaws. This ended up being a little closer than you might expect. Junkertown, well, actually Junkertown ended up being really, really close. Dynasty's actually just holding off after Zephyr's 2-kill self-destructs in the third phase here. I know it's your favorite every time I mention self-destructs.
It's random.
Zephyr here, though, landing them when they're important, helping
Can I just ask you
Dynasty
something right quick,
hold.
Lepalose?
It was a close one. It was a close one, though. If he didn't land, particularly that second one in the third phase here.
Familiar question that you probably get tired of me asking you after a while. What role does Zephyr play here, Lepalose? Why is Zephyr on this team?
Good question.
He got Zumba. Lepalose, he does nothing better than Zumba. Is his diva better than Zumba? I don't know about that.
Maybe your player's having an off week. Maybe he's having wrist issues. Again, we've talked about wanting to have flex tanks.
Okay.
In the situation where somebody's injured or has performance issue that might be coming up.
Okay, if you're saying that, then if I ask you why is Kuki on the team, you're just gonna tell me the same thing then, right? Because I look at Kuki and he's not Miro, but I need to see if his Reinhardt play is better than Miro's. But they played a lot of Winston.
They did play a lot of when Kuki was all right.
I mean, it wasn't bad. Listen, he's not bad.
He was good. Okay? He was a good Winston.
But Lepalose, you got Miro, so what's happening?
Again, if you're asking me as a manager why you have this, I go exactly to what I was just saying. You have a second string of players.
Okay.
You have no idea week to week. People break toes, Jax. You never know what's going to happen. So, for that reason alone, it's good to have backup. But then again, you're talking to an engineer by profession, right? So, the idea of that is second nature. Again, I look to you and ask you, do you feel comfortable with the Florida Mayhem lineup and not having any backup in a $20 million franchise?
Let me see the Mayhem. We still have to cover the next game. I did plan on bringing that up.
We'll go again.
Last game,
get back here to speak to Kuki. They're both really good. Kuki and Zephyr, both really good second string players. They can sub in and be top tier players if they need to be. Here in the preseason, they're a force to play. We may not see that. Another reason, though, is it keeps your practice really focused if you have somebody at the same level that your top tier players are at. You're not just having coaches, you're having someone that you're interacting with, which itself is a lot of value to have.
Remember you said that, Lepos, because I want to address that in the next series. But let's see. You see that said the first map of Junkertown went to Seoul 3-2.
Yeah, close one there. Outlaws coming right back, though. Lunar Colony, they managed to hold Dynasties to 36% on B point there, and that's enough for Outlaws to be able to capture out and take that one. Ilios ends up going Dynasties fairly quickly, 147 on Well, 100 on Lighthouse to earn themselves the 2-1 advantage in Nambani Jax. This one was Outlaws to win. They had 2:06 on the clock and a chance at a second attack. All they needed was a third.
Yeah.
Dynasty, I'm not going to say it here, Jax. Dynasty holding out. I'm going to let you say it if you want to, but what I do want to say is how good the timing between the nano and the bio grenades are between Miro and Ryo Jae-hung.
Fantastic.
Very good play.
I mean, just beautiful. Again, Lepos, I asked you why is Kuki there, but we're not going to go back to there. Go back to that. I will say, yes, Toby played Torbjorn. That's expected, okay? Toby loves to play Torbjorn on Nambani. They made it work.
They did. I mean, some of that is okay. If you're Outlaws, you should know they're going to run this. You need to know they were going to run this, and you need to have a set play to deal with it, right? You know there's going to be a Torbjorn. You know people run Torbjorn. You need a plan to deal with it.
People run it, but specifically, Toby is always on. Not always, but quite often. I think 90% of the time, you'll find him on Torbjorn there. The problem that I have here, Lepalose, is the way this series ended. I'm looking at the scoreline here of 2-1. And that series ended on a draw. No, But we've already went over this. I'm just gonna say no. I don't want that. This is why I don't like this best of 4 Lepalose. Series cannot end. Should not. I can't say cannot because obviously it can. Should not end on a draw because I'm sitting here thinking, wait, what? It's over?
Yeah. It's kind of
This was a good series. What do you mean it's over?
It was a good series, and it's disappointing it ended like this. Jax, are you suggesting though that we do hybrid then 2CP so that we get all the draws out of our system off the start?
Lepalose, let me ask you this. I feel for Houston, right? Houston played Dallas. They played Seoul. But again, probably 2 or the 3 best teams in the league.
Yep.
That being said, is this a sign of things to come for Houston, Lepos? Can we expect them? Because I don't remember who it was. Some pro, maybe it was Michael. I don't know. It was Dogman. I don't remember. Some pro said that the thing about Houston is there's not much room to grow on this team, and I'm not sure they're wrong. I'm not sure they're wrong about that, Lepos, because I look at this. Dallas beat them 3-2. Seoul beat them 2-1. If they played London and London figures out what they're doing, I'm expecting a pretty similar scoreline here. And I'm left wondering, I mean, it can only be one winner, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Houston, and I think they'll finish in the top half. You know, they're a playoff team. I think they'll finish in the top half, Lepalose. But if you look at this roster, I think this is it.
I agree with you, Jax. I think they're going to struggle to compete with Dynasty and Fuel throughout. As we said in the Fuel versus Outlaws, felt like Fuel were playing around and the Outlaws were trying really, really hard.
Right.
And it was a close matchup. I feel like come playoff time, Fuel will play a little bit more seriously. And that will mean it's that much harder for Outlaws to
see, here's the deal, right? Not just playing around, but Taimu even said himself about his series, he played bad. Yeah. And if you look at that, Taimu did play bad. For what we know Taimu can play, how he can play.
Just go back and watch that Dorado. And
I'm looking at Houston, and I'm saying to myself, Leplos, who has the potential to step up? Because Linkster, who we've talked about with the Gigante, right? He didn't play bad. Linkster played pretty good, but I don't think he has much more there, Lepos. Clockwork, I'm sorry to say, but I don't want to ask you the question again, but I have to ask, why? What is he? He doesn't.
Clockwork is the grim reality of.
He really. I'm sorry. He really is.
Yep.
Spree. I love Spree. I follow his channel. I think Spree and Kumat, you know,
they
have a very similar hero pool, but it's kind of like Coco and XQC, where I think Spree is a little more open and offensive, and Kumat is defensive. I
don't mind having that as secondary.
Plus, I think Spree might have the better Zarya and Kumat the better Diva.
Mendo admitted he wasn't really well practiced and ready for this, which I think that was well shown.
I think I was gonna say I think the coaching did Mendo wrong, but from what I read, Coach Taerong, former of AF Blue, he wasn't even there, Lepos. This was on General Manager Flame, and I don't understand.
Preparation's not there though, Jackson.
Mendo
that's a concern for
expressed being uncomfortable with the position that they put him in. So then you sub him in and you put him in the position he just said he wasn't ready for.
I mean, part of that comes down to I think Mendo probably didn't give them an option as to when he was going to be ready. Oh, so he said he was practicing the fair, but he wasn't feeling comfortable and didn't want to do it.
And had no sleep because he was traveling to Mexico.
He had to be subbed in because they needed to play him.
They have to play him. Right.
So where else are you going to put him but on Ilios? And then they messed up the Boink issue and getting him subbed in here on Ilios.
Yeah.
I don't care. Those excuses aside, you're still going to lose Ilios.
Oof. Lepalose being harsh, but people, this is the question I have you, Houston fans, Houston Outlaw fans. Can your team take? Can they finish higher than third, Lepalose?
They need a couple things to come together, but they could have won this game, right? Okay. And they need to capitalize on turning around things that are winnable games, such as this one, and making it happen. And that gap is the gap between them ending up in the upper middle and in the upper side of the ranks come the end of regular season of Overwatch League. Jax, why don't we talk about the lower ranks of Overwatch League? Because we're talking about
you gotta put it like that, Lepalose.
Absolutely.
Lower ranks.
These two teams looked like they were competing well with each other, but not with other teams. Of course, I'm talking about Dragons versus Uprising. We're just going to run this one down really quickly. Uprising winning Junkertown in a super quick time, 4:41 into the third phase, Jax, when they capture at the distance that Dragons had. That was very unexpected. I guess poor defense coming out of Dragons. Let me put it that way. Lunar Colony again. Dragons able to hold on to a point on their defense.
Lepalose, what is this composition, dude?
Jax, the unexpected Junkrat, Widowmaker, Torbjorn 2-3-1 composition coming out of Dragon here.
Diva Orisa with Solo Mercy, Lepalose.
Solo Mercy, and Free Feel too on that Torbjorn, going off because nobody looks at him. He builds up.
Oh.
What, he got like 2 or 3 kills with his right clicks.
Lepalose, see,
build up Volt and
this
Call
is not
for the
right
first
because now
fight.
people are gonna be playing the Torbjorn here, and it doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work.
Yeah, please, people, don't do it.
This is.
Don't do it.
I was sitting here watching this, because I think I told you I was starting this series, and you told someone in Discord, like, oh, get ready for it. And I get to this point, I'm like, Torbjorn? Torbja? And
yeah.
I just...
Every time when there's a Torbjorn. Yeah, so yeah, Dragon's taking that one. They take the next one. Elios actually 3 rounds. All of them, they're not too close rounds. 176 Dragons on Lighthouse, Uprising 155 on Ruins, and 158 on Will for Dragons to close it out. Mbani, Uprising, full holding on Mbani Jax. Concerning for Dragons again.
This is something that I want to bring up because this should not have happened. Shanghai at one point, they had the point, right? They're attacking. They start get 1 tick, they get 2 ticks. The main tank, I just saw his name. Why am I not seeing his name? Oh, was it Roshan, right? Roshan, main tank, Primal Rage. He jumps to the back line where the enemy Ana did not die. So Snow is back there on Ana, just trying to run away, stay alive because the rest of his team is dead. They're coming off respawn. They're getting ready to push back in. So he's got Primal Rage levels. He's in the back line. He's trying to kill the Ana. We don't see what happens, but here's what I do see. I see Roshan come back to the point. So he's standing around with his team on the point. I'm looking at the kill feed, and I'm saying to myself, he did not kill this Ana. So that to me is already strike number 1 because you didn't kill the primary healer. Yeah, so what happens when they come off respawn? Whoever comes off respawn, whether it's tank or DPS, they now have sustain to go along with it because you didn't kill the healer. You know you didn't kill the healer because you literally just leapt away from her, leaving her alive. What happens? Enemy Winston comes back, leaps in, is engaging your team. So the Winston is in, bubble down, making a huge, fuss. Anna's back there just, hi, I'm Granny, I'm keeling, I'm casting. The rest of the team pushes in because they let them push in Lepalose. You know Anna is back there. You know. Don't just stand there, man. This is poor play from the Shanghai Dragons. And honestly, you go to Lijiang Tower, Lepalose, and they let Striker kill them. And Striker, we talked about his Tracer. He's on McCree. Yeah. And I'm saying, MG, what are you doing? Because MG is the diva.
It's worse than that, Jax.
What's he doing?
Dragon started off well. They took the night mark at 156. I know. And then they gave up 2 rounds in a row, and not close, or they're somewhat close rounds, like 199 Uprising to get Gardens off of.
On that final map, I think it was Control Center. They literally let Striker left click them to death on McCree, and I don't know what they were doing. And I wanted to come back to the point you were making about GC Busan. Now, was GC Busan? I don't remember, but just we talked about them having 2 full rosters, right? Because Spitfire, because you got coaching, but you've got solid scrim partners, in-house scrim partners here, Lepalose.
Yeah.
And I look at all these rosters here. Shanghai worries me the most going forward because their pool of players to pull from is shrinking. Lepalose, here's the deal. If you take a look at like Seoul, Korea, wherever they want. All these other teams, right? A lot of teams have Korean players, so they can always go to Korea, or they can always go to some Western team in the States, or just where they can pull from anywhere. But let's be honest, if you're Shanghai, do you see them pulling any player that is not Chinese? You don't.
I really do not at this point.
So
in time.
Then Lepalose, I have to point out that they've already, took some from LGD, they took some from Vici Gaming.
Yeah.
Why did they not take from MY? And I know we talked about this, but this is before, the Reddit detectives did their work, and we come to find out, Lepalose, 5 out of the 6 players of MY are actually Overwatch League eligible because they're over 18. And I think it was Hex who said that Shanghai, they have to develop a DPS Zen. They have to develop, that
Yeah.
killer support that all these other teams have. And the number one guy on my list, if I'm Shanghai Lepalose, is Zhu Fanjun from MY, who also played on Team China. So he's a known factor. I
Yeah.
look at Leave Lepalose and his flex DPS from MY, a known factor. And quite honestly, you have spent $20 million on this roster. Buy out MY. The team Lepalose, they said, the owners, they said, if you look at what they said, they were waiting for Shanghai to come and buy them. That's basically what they were doing because they folded Lepalose.
Are you saying Miraculous Youngsters got ZP'd?
I mean, Lepalose, Zhu Fanjun becomes 8. He's 18 February 22nd of this year. Leave, I think, is 20. If let's take a look at someone else who's not on MY. Let's go to LGD. Eileen, 17. Just because he can't play doesn't mean he can't be on the team. Doesn't mean he can't practice here, Lepalose. I'm looking at Shanghai and I'm saying your best pool of resources is now gone.
Yeah.
MY has disbanded, Lepalose. And when I say disbanded, I mean they didn't even finish out the Nexus Cup, of which they were in the lower bracket playoffs. They said, okay, we're done because we can't afford to continue.
Yeah, that's
by this team that's full of potential talent here, Lepalose.
You're getting ahead of us on the rundown because we do have some coverage
Lepalose.
of Nexus.
I'm sorry. It's just that
I
the
agree
Shanghai
with you.
roster, I worry for them because from what I'm reading and from what the Reddit detectives are saying, Overwatch in China is on the downslide.
Yeah.
PUBG is going up, Lepalose, where all these players
Worldwide
from MY are
trends.
now going to. Lepalose, where are they going to pull from?
I mean, eventually, if you're not bringing new and highly skilled players, eventually the quality of play drops. And if this is the best that Dragons ever get, we're in big trouble for that organization.
Unless Philadelphia is an absolute disaster, which is a possibility because they haven't even fielded a team yet, Shanghai Dragons will finish bottom of the league.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with you. I see them struggling. Uprising, I think they'll get a lot more practice.
They don't. I'm sorry. China, they have the
improve.
players, Lepalose. They have the players, but this roster, I'm actually upset at what Shanghai is doing. So, hey, you know what? Take me to the next game.
Yeah, Gladiators versus Valiant, Battle of LA, Jax. With how the Valiant played and Gladiators played formerly, this one seemed like it was going to be a shoe-in for Gladiators. I mean, they won versus Spitfire. Valiant barely winning against Shock. And here we are, Jax.
Yeah.
Valiant starting things off. Dorado getting the good hold on their defense. Sort of an important first win for them. Gladiators winning on 1-3-2, Jax.
Oh boy.
On both of their attack and defense, sort of questionable there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the hydration factor coming through, Jax, on that lineup there. They subbed Bishu back in for hydration for Anubis. Valiant easily hold again on their defense. Sort of similar storyline there as they take the second map. That's 2 maps already. Gladiators do try and make a fight of it, winning 199 on both City Center, then Gardens on Oasis. But Eichenwald, Jax, Valiant getting into the third phase. Gladiators holding them for a potential, win if they could make it into the third phase, because they hold them pretty early in the third phase. But Jax, Irem's aggressive, getting punished by Valiant, overusing ults maybe in hold against Gladiators, but they hold out. They hold out. I think even
I have already chosen the Gladiator as my team, so I'm not gonna go back on that. They do need to contact me for guidance. At Jax_Blake on Twitter. I'm sorry to say, Lepalose, this was the Gladiator team that I expected to see.
Yeah.
The team in the first series against London, I don't know where they came from. I think that was literally London underperforming and just not being comfortable here in the setting. And I think they corrected that for their very next game. The Gladiators here completely outplayed. I mean, okay, fine. They took Oasis. I'm sorry, I don't put much. I can't say I don't put much stock in Koth, but
let's be honest. On Oasis, it was Asher doing well, and it was Silk Thread.
Yeah,
doing well. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
No, sorry, not Silk Thread. Asher, particularly Asher doing well, and I mean that was for me the major reason for the Gladiators doing well.
Lepalose, let me ask you
Shaz as
something.
well doing
Let me ask you
well
something. Where is your Canadian brethren? Where is Surefour?
Surefour very quiet on the day. He did not very much. In fact, when in fact, usually when I have him,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, here,
I
Dorado,
know.
Unco, huge pick on early on his return on Surefour.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's my notes on Surefour is him getting picked by people, and that's not a good sign. You know, I've been hard on Surefour.
I think no, you say hard. I say honest. Okay,
I've eased on it. One sec, just let me get through this for a second. Which is, I've eased off of it because he can still perform at extremely high levels. We talk about consistency on the rundown, and Surefour not consistent. This game goes to prove that again.
See, because the thing that I say, it's not that he's playing bad, but I think for them to win this game, he has to play at a higher level that we have not seen from him really.
No offense, he has to play at a higher level than his DPS
I'm sorry,
partner.
with this lineup every single time.
Yeah.
Bishu and iRemix, not that they're bad. You talk about the iRemix being a little over aggressive. That's true.
Here, there.
But Bishu, when you look at like dominant tank duos, right? They're okay. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, okay, they're okay. And so that puts a lot on Shaz and Big Goose. And Shaz, he literally can't do it every time. That's not how Zen works. But I do want to give Shaz props to, maybe not on this time, but on the previous series, right? Shaz, previous game, I should say, when they were running that 1-3-2, right? Or no, when they were running triple DPS, I'm saying, wait a minute, was that Shaz on Genji? And so I'm saying, if they're flexing Shaz on Genji Lepos, then I have to go back and ask you again, why is hydration on the team? Because that's one of the only things that he plays. He plays Pharah, he plays Genji, and maybe a little Roadhog. So when I look at the LA Gladiators, and I'm looking at the mid-season Lepalos, I don't know how the format will work or how much they'll be able to turn it around after the midseason signing period, but the Gladiators have serious work to do. The three coaches that they have, the general manager, they have serious work to do to flesh out this roster levels, because as of right now, this is a bottom tier roster that will compete against the likes of the Shanghai Dragons and the Boston Uprising. But if they actually want to go anywhere, it's not going to do it, man.
Yeah,
this not gonna work.
I agree with you. I think that's pretty poignant there, Jax. Why don't we move on? Valiant here. Let me just say, again, great play out of Unco, Soon, Silk Thread, particularly. I think Fate also had a pretty good game.
If I'm throwing out a quick ranking, Lepalos, I would like to see Valiant versus Los Angeles Valiant versus Houston.
Yes.
I think those two teams are in the same bracket, which is just below Seoul, Dallas, and London, and
Shock versus
with New York
Gladiators, I would like to see as well.
New York, tough to say, but we'll come to New York again later on. But up next, Lepalos, we have Dallas versus Florida.
Oh, Jax, we mentioned Fuel playing around with their compositions. This is exactly where they do things like that. I mean, Chips on Sombra, Harry on Lucio, Custa on Moira.
Huh?
I mean,
what?
Coco on Roadhog, Mickey on Diva.
That's a troll, Leplos. This is.
I think
if
this
was
was
Twitch chat, someone would write Defran in chat just to continue the meme, Leplos. This is a troll. It's Coach Kai trolling.
It's got to be frustrating if you're Mayhem. They at least win this round. Like they full hold on A. You got to be a little bit annoyed if you're in, the profession. They do something like this to you on a broadcasted map like this, right? Like I would not be happy if I'm Mayhem.
Okay, Lepalos, you say that, right? You say you would not be happy, so that means you would be angry, you'd be upset, you would want to prove that you deserve the best that the Dallas Fuel have to offer. So then, Lepalos, run down the next 3 maps in the series.
Yeah.
For me,
okay.
please.
So Mayhem had that one map. That's
okay.
That's about all. Fuel on Lunar Colony hold at 63.8%. Hold Mayhem there, so easily taken when they go on attack.
Okay.
Elios 173, 178. Or sorry, actually, 1 second. Lighthouse 100 oil fuel, 173 Mayhem on well, 178 on ruins for fuel to take that map.
Okay.
And then Bonnie Jax utter dominance on the side of fuel with the XQC particular doing really good work as a full hold Mayhem there.
See,
for the
one XUC, I think he personally had something to prove, Leplos, and this is what I love to see. Players who have that little chip on their shoulder, and they're, he wants to say, like, people doubted XQC. I knew he had talent. I have trouble separating him from his stream persona, which I don't really care for. But his professional performance here, fantastic play.
Yeah.
When I look at main tanks, and when you see a main tank, he's just tanking, whatever. When I say Nomi is okay, it's because I don't see Nomi doing something like this. I have not seen iRemix do something like this where they're just fantastic, where they stand out. I've seen Miro do it. I've seen Mano do it, Lepelos. I've seen Gesture and Fisher do it. But when I look at Florida, I've got a number of questions for you here, Lepelos. First, is Logic's Widow good enough to carry them in this? I'm not saying it's a Widow meta, but at times Widow is everywhere.
Widow's being played a lot
Lepelos.
this week. We're going to talk about that in our day 4 coverage.
Okay,
up and coming last game.
All right, but then before we get to the last game, Lepelos, I have to ask you about Manitin. Now, the casters did point out his Roadhog was pretty good, but outside of his Roadhog, what does Manitin bring that they absolutely need?
Jax,
is Diva Leplos is
I
okay.
used the term legacy player when I referred to Grim Reality earlier. When I look at Mayhem right now, I can't help but they're playing in legacy mode in general right now.
I mean, Leplos, you say that, right?
They're struggling.
So you've used the legacy term with 3 different players now. So you've got Grim Reality.
I'm using this for their team, not
you went with the whole team.
Well, because Mayhem looked lost. They look lost. Like,
I thought you were just using it for Manitin.
They've always been slow.
Now you ruined what I was gonna say, because I was saying, okay, Grim Reality, you gave him the legacy tag. Clockwork, you gave him the legacy tag. That's fine, because you know what? That's fine. Yeah. You look at the roster, Daily Valiant have Leplos, they have a lot of options that they can play in place of Grim Reality. You look at Houston, they've got a lot of options that they can play in place of Clockwork. You look at Florida Leplos, they have no one.
And this is why I'm calling them a legacy team. They're the arrogance they have to suggest that, hey, our Team Gigante, a team that was all right in Europe, is going to be Overwatch League ready without any pickups, without any changes.
Well, Misfits,
we're just going to go. And by the way, all the film footage of us are out there.
Leplos, can Tavik carry them outside of the bottom 4?
No, he cannot. That's like
that was my last question.
Strong of a player. He's not that strong of a player. I'm sorry.
I mean, Tavik is a fantastic player, but Tavik, like Surefour Leplos, I remember both these guys. Like Tavik, he was. I say was as if he's bad. It's just I remember him doing magical things, but that was on completely different teams, Leplos, where he had someone like AKM in that on the other side of him. And the reason I bring up AKM because I'm looking at Logix, and you look at Logix in season 1 of Contenders for EU, Leplos, the regular season, he was dominant, and then he went to the LAN and he had a bit of a drop off. And now Leplos, I'm not saying he played bad. I think he played better here than he did at the season 1 Contenders LAN, but Logix, the magic just wasn't there, Leplos.
No, he was definitely struggling, Jackson.
What does this team do? They don't, Leplos. They have no options.
And this is exactly why they're going to be a struggling team, and why I expect them to be fighting for the bottom with the Uprising and Dragons.
Leplos, they've got Shanghai has all Chinese, right? So their pool of players they can pull from is limited. The Misfits are sticking with this all Swedish team. There are Swedish players that are available. But if I'm honest, when I look at, I had it open a tab somewhere that I can't find right now. Yeah. When I look at the tab of available Swedish players, they have some good players, Leplos, but they don't have Overwatch League stars that they need. No. And the reason I bring this up is this team,
they're going to struggle.
Leplos, I'm sorry, this is a $20 million team, and you're going to have to blow it up in the off season.
Halfway through the season,
with mid-season signings.
If you're one of the teams out there right now, like thinking about if you're going to get out in Overwatch League or not, you got to stick with it, and you got to be trying to talk to the Florida team, because if anyone's going to hire a full team, it's going to be Team Florida.
You've got to. I'm looking at this.
Happen. So,
I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, but when I look at the options, the sheer options that all these other teams have, Leplos, they're done.
Yeah, and watching it is sort of brutal, like to see them do so poorly. I mean, yeah, granted, Fuel a strong team. That is true.
Lepalose, this is Coach Kai messing around.
And Coach Kai messing around. Shock beat them pretty soundly too in the first match of the day too. So that's not good. Jax, let's go ahead and talk about the final game and final matchup though that happened. Dynasty versus Excelsior. This is battle of two Korean teams essentially. Let's call it what it is.
I was really interested in this.
Yeah, okay, let's go through it then. Junkertown ended up going with some interesting things going down in it. I think we had Ryu Jae Hung.
Hold on. You can't tell me that you can call Dallas Fuel lineup BM, but then what is this Seoul Junkertown attack here, Lepalose? What are they doing?
They had Ryu Jae Hung there on the May on attack, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for a bit. Sort of weird play out of them. They had Wikied on the Hanzo.
Oh boy.
Jax is still quick take on A point.
Orisa, Roadhog, Hanzo, Widowmaker, May, and Mercy. Are you kidding me, Lepalose? This is a troll.
It worked. It worked well enough to get them in third. Jax, unfortunately, they did not make it beyond there. If you're talking about troll, how about the Sombra for Ryu Jae Hung on defense in a 2-3-1
What's he doing, dude? What's he doing here?
He's playing around. They're playing around. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work for them. Excelsior making pretty good work. Mako some good plays actually as a he gets a pick on in the third phase Ryu Jae Hung. I wanted to at least give Mako this call out here because he managed to get Ryu Jae Hung when he had Transcendence up, and then gets Toby who was on the Mercy, and off of that, Excelsior able to take the distance that Dynasty set.
I do want to say he's good, right? I love Toby. This is still a weakness for Seoul Lepalose. They don't have the Mercy.
Yes.
They don't have the tier 1. I'm sorry. Toby and Nirija, neither one of them is tier 1 Mercy. Nothing wrong with that, right? Because I'm not the biggest fan of Mercy, but Mercy is still pretty good here. And that's a weakness that they have not. I say they haven't addressed. They don't have any backup support players, Lepalose. So they have a lot of flex, but if Mercy continues to be a thing, I think that's one of the areas that they're weak at.
Yeah, that is true. What they're not weak, Jax. Lunar Colony.
This was brutal.
Lunar Colony, Jax. They had the. I think you can call it a perfect round. Like 6:27 full cap time on Lunar Colony on their attack. No deaths on their attack.
Yeah. No, I mean, Lepalose. I
don't really need to say anything from there. They hold on B point.
Just go on to the defense. Widowmaker Fest that was the ruins of Ilios.
Ruins, Fleta. We mentioned Fleta. We mentioned Widowmakers. Jax, I think this is the moment when we have the Widowmaker talk because Fleta dominating on Widow here for 100-0 on Ruins for the Dynasty quick.
I think there was one point where Pine finally pulled it back and took out Fleta, but it didn't matter because his team was already dead. At the end of their end.
There was a moment too, like where Fleta got the kill on Pine. Pine got rezzed, and then Fleta immediately got the next kill on Pine again after the res.
Lepalose, let me ask you: does this make for good viewing? Because we've seen this weekend and in other tournaments, we've seen a lot of Widowmaker and her ability to just dominate. Like if you go back to the World Cup, while I gave Sabobi my MVP, the reason why they beat USA on Hanamura was because USA could not deal with Flowers' Widowmaker. Other teams dealt with it a little bit better, but Widow is so strong, Lepalose, that if she's there, if she's in the zone, if she's passing out the kisses like that it's soul crushing. I have here Fleta crushes New York on Ilios. Not Soul Lepalose. He crushed them with the headshots that he was dropping on these fools. And I mean, I get it. For this moment, right? It's really entertaining. You love to see, the ding and the headshots and the kills. But through an entire season, Lepalose, would you want to see this?
Jax, what I am going to refer you to, if you've not been exposed, is a little bit of Canadiana / gaming history called pure ponage. Okay. And say boom headshot, because people have been following that in Counter-Strike Go for years, which is where largely they're talking about that.
Right.
People love that. People like FPSers absolutely love it. It's always a lot of people have been waiting for that, right? Like this like highly skilled character in order to come out and watch that play. I don't think it's for everyone.
if it comes down to literally, like, I remember after the World Cup, Taimu sent out a tweet at Flowers says, "I can't wait for you to get 18 so we can duel." If it comes down to just these Widowmaker duels, Lepalose, I'm not sure. Okay, I think my problem is too many of these Widowmaker duels. They need to not be Widowmaker duels because they're not very good. A lot of these teams are pulling off. They're trying to pull off Widowmaker, and it works with the level of competition that they're facing, but they're gonna come across Seoul or Dallas and potentially San Francisco, because I was not expecting Baby Bay's Widowmaker to be that good. But I'm looking at, take the Los Angeles Valiant, right? We said they had a pretty good weekend. They don't have a Widowmaker that can contend level. Let's be honest here. I think
Yeah.
Soon tried. I think Grim Reality tried. I think if they try against Fleta, if they try against Pine
So
or Flower or Taimu, they'll get
Jax,
their head shot off.
I'm gonna turn this one around on you and ask you, like, was it better under the Tracer meta when it was only the Tracers that were
Oh
defining
boy.
the matches? And ask you,
I mean,
how do you feel about that?
the reason why I think this works is because Tracer is still a viable option. I think it's interesting in that it will force these teams who don't have the dominant Widow to come up with strats that deal with it. I take you back to the World Cup where Team USA utterly failed to deal with the Widowmaker, but the very next day, Team France Lepalos dealt with it very well and forced him off of the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
So
I think there is a big difference between Tracer and Widowmaker that way, which is it's much easier to force a Widowmaker off
Yeah.
than a Tracer, because a Tracer, again, OP. We've had this
I mean,
discussion many times.
the thing about Tracer is whatever is annoying her, she can ignore. She's like, okay, I'll go somewhere else and
Yeah.
continue to do what I'm doing.
Can't do
We'll
that
see.
on
Going
Widowmaker.
for, like, right now, like I said, part of the problem I have is a lot of middling Widowmaker play.
That's
A lot of
big
these players
trouble.
levels, they
The-
should not be playing Widowmaker. When
the
it's played,
skill, the skill disparity of Widowmakers is huge, and it's evident. More evident in Widowmakers than even Tracer v Tracer battles.
the reason why I like this one is because Fleta and Pine are two phenomenal Widowmakers. And I mean, yes, Fleta went out here, but on any given day, Pine could do the same thing. Or if not Pine, it could be Flower. But I'm looking at New York Lepalos, and I almost want to ask, like, once Flower is available, like, then what do you do with Pine?
Yeah.
Like, what's he supposed to do, Lepalos? Or
Find
like,
another
say,
team, maybe go
so
to trade to Florida for
I mean, like,
chips.
who was it? Who did he play? I think at one point Pine, he went over to that. He flexed over to the support like Libero is doing because
Yeah.
Jay Jonak is not old enough, and everybody keeps talking about this Jay Jonak guy. I've never seen him, Lepalo. So
Yeah.
if everybody is talking about him, how good is he? But I'm left one, like, I'm just saying to myself, you're not gonna bench Sabobi, are you? You're not gonna bench Sabobi, right? So then you've got Flower. You got Flower and Sabobi. So what Pine and Libero gonna do? Now the thing about Flower is he has a known wrist issue Lepalos, where it's really sad
Young
to hear that he
and
struggles
has-
like this.
yeah.
He's not even 18, and we see all the people streaming. I mean, maybe he streams and I don't see him, but he hurts Lepalos. Like he can't even practice as much as he wants to because his wrists hurt that much. So I get them having options for Flower, but
Jax.
We'll
Let's
see.
go ahead moving on this discussion, though. We were talking about map 3 on Ilios, 100-0 on Ruins when Fleto was wrecking on that Widowmaker. Well, Libero actually going to DPS here, Jax, because he had been playing support.
Okay.
That Farah winning the battle in the sky actually earns Excelsior that round, 144, but Dynasty, not to be done, take the Lighthouse, secure their second map, 2-1 right now. Goes into Nambani. Jax, you gotta be worried going into Nambani against Dynasties. Here, only one decent hold again coming outside of the Excelsior, as Dynasty roll through for a fast time of 3 minutes and 20 seconds, I believe.
Soul
defense.
Dynasty, like I said, the rest of the world is lucky they didn't have Fleta. Hit scan is so important in this game, and what he brings to this team just opens them up in a rather big way. And this is preseason. People are gonna try to feed me all kind of excuses. Jay Jonak not there. Blah. I don't care. Lepalose. Come regular season, I expect the same result. Seoul is. I'm looking forward to the first game of the regular season, Lepalose.
Yeah.
Seoul Dynasty versus Dallas Fuel.
I did also want to say
they're gonna bring it.
First time seeing Bunny do something of note here too. He did some pretty good work on defense for Dynasty as well here on Nimbani as they round out the Series 3-1 here and close off the week of preseason action in Overwatch League. So some pretty interesting results, Jax. I think nothing too shocking. I think I was a little bit surprised.
Really?
That was
nothing too shocking. That's what. Lepalose, the thing that shocks me and concerns me, and it's something that you and I are gonna have to work on, is that we are at 1 hour and 50 minutes right now, and we haven't even done the rundown.
Okay, well, speaking of the rundown, Jax. Let's go.
My throat is tired.
This. So,
my throat is actually.
We're just gonna move. We're gonna move really, really quickly into it and through it. Starting with Nexus Cup, which is entering the playoffs this past week.
Yeah.
We're not even into the upper bracket finals at all, so we're still pretty.
Actually, if I had to guess, 3 hours. 3 hours from now, we start the upper bracket semifinals.
Yeah. So, in the upper bracket, we know Lunatic High winning over Runaway move on to the semifinals in the upper bracket. X6 again 2-0 over 7. No surprise there. Element Mystic dropped the map against just Foxes. They dropped the map.
I didn't expect him to drop a map, but I did expect him to win. But when I looked, we'll see.
Yep. Kongdu Panthera over at Metathena. No surprises there. Down in the lower bracket.
You say that, but if you're Metathena and you're disappointed with the roster that they put together,
you're definitely disappointed.
They have to figure it out. Like the potential is there, they just have to figure it out. I think they'll.
Yeah, we'll speak to them. Let's go through some of the lower bracket. Let me go through this in reverse order here, Jax. You speak about Metathena. They actually won 2-1 over LGD Gaming.
Wow, LGD already out. That team, they lost Undead Lepalose. They lost their coach. I think they lost 3 players.
Well, Jax, again, if any team beats a Korean team, big surprise because none of them got into the upper bracket in the first place.
I know. You're not wrong there.
Foxes beating Miracle Team 2-1. Surprised that they dropped the map there, but that forced Metathena versus Foxes. That was a 2-0 for Metathena there. So they moved on to losers round 4. Which is pretty good for them.
Can I just point out something right quick that I just noticed? In the upper bracket, Foxes versus Element Mystic, the map they won the first map, and the second map was King of the Hill. Yeah. Against Element Mystic, they lost 2-0. Against Miracle Team 1 on Lijiang Tower, they lost 2-0. I'm just pointing it out because there's another one of these teams that appear to struggle on King of the Hill. And as we talked about with the Flash Wolves and OPC, you can't struggle like this on King of the Hill. You can't just cede an entire game mode to your enemy. But you were saying 7 versus Lucky Future.
7 versus Lucky Future. 7 taking that one 2-1. So another map drop, but managing to get it through. And Jax, we had our first Korean team going out when VG Gaming takes out Runaway. Our favorite teams to talk about for over and underperforming, respectively.
What did I say? What did I say?
You know
on
they can take
any given day, this is without Dia. If they had Dia. Who knows? If they had Dia, they would probably be one of the.
You got to be disappointed though if you're Runaway. You got to be disappointed if you're Runaway.
It's rough Runaway. Runner is having to go to the military. Kaiser is stepping away from the team. We don't know why. Personal issues. That's fine. They're looking for a coach, but he says, "Lepalose, what happened? All the best coaches are gone. They have been taken to Overwatch League. This is what I'm talking about.
That's what happens.
These Lepalose, the local scenes are gonna suffer now.
They definitely are. VG Gaming taking on 7 in the losers round 3. VG Gaming taking that one 2-0. Jax.
Lepalose, what did I say? I have been taught. This is classic VG Gaming here. Now watch, they're gonna come here in the semifinal and probably get rolled. But that's just how they play.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think they'll be playing the loser of Lunatic High and X6 Gaming. Yeah. So they're gonna be playing X6 Gaming.
They could beat X6. They can beat X6. I'm telling you.
It's possible. Right, it's possible.
Yes.
I don't think they would make it beyond that though, because they would either go up against Metathena, Kongdu, or Element Mystic if they managed to beat the loser of Lunatic High X6. So
I agree with that, but it's Vici, and like I said, on any given day, this team.
How clutch do you think they are? They've never shown to be that clutch.
I don't understand this team, but we'll see.
That's the results from Nexus. We'll keep our eye.
I think we'll probably be covering the finals. The finals are in 4 days, so we'll probably give them some full coverage.
Jax,
for next week.
We're hopping to South America, where, of course, our
Oh,
favorite Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro.
oh boy, here we go.
It's like the page is not currently loading for me.
Wait, Lepalose, hold on one second. Let me. Why it was just working? I will say, why is it not working?
Oh well. That's been our feelings about Overwatch Campeonato Brasileiro. Why is
I
it
am
not
pulling
working?
it up right now, Leplos, but I did. Okay, I was supposed to watch this. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot. There was so much Overwatch League this weekend.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot. This finals has been on the schedule. I just brought it up, Leplos. It was Brazil Gaming House versus Keep Gaming. No surprise, these two teams have been the top of Brazil since forever. This will be the final game for Keep Gaming. They're going their own separate ways. First map, Kings Row, Brazil Gaming House 2-1. Second map, Lijiang Tower, Brazil Gaming House 2-0, Leplos. Third map, Junkertown, Brazil Gaming House 3-2 for the clean sweep. I'm sorry to see Keep go out like this.
Yeah, I mean it's sad for Keep to lose like that, but I guess not overall that surprising. Let's go over to Europe now, where we have the
What?
Geo4 European Cup number 80.
Okay, the normal weekly tournament.
Yeah, this one Oompa Loompa is taking this one over Wizard Esports.
No surprise, Leplos. They won the 79 one as well. They won the previous one.
The only other thing of note is Nemesis making it into third place after Kaiser Littens decided to forfeit that match, I guess. Sort of disappointing that they didn't play it out. Kaiser Littens losing the semifinals to Oompa Loompas.
Third place, it was over. Leplos, nothing to gain. They gave it up. I mean, I think there's always something to play for. But
I don't know. I don't know the details there, so I
Right.
just wanted to mention that because it was unfortunate to see that that's listed like that. But some familiar names there, and also a new one in Nemesis.
Oompa Loompas, though, Lepalos, we talk about consistency. They're up there. They're in the top 2 to 3 every, or 1 and 2 every tournament. I'm looking for the EU Contender Season 2. Let's see what they got.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the Go for Overwatch European Monthly Final for November. Is this one now finished with Oompa Loompas taking over Team God Tier?
Are you surprised, Lepalos?
I'm not, although Team God Tier.
You take a look at who
winning
Team
over
God Tier
Wizards
picked
to get
up,
there.
Lepalos.
That's pretty good. Pretty good of them to make it there. So some new teams. I did also want to say I'm just looking at the symbols. Cord Narwhals also have a pretty awesome logo. I don't know if they're from another.
I did want to draw your attention to one of the players on Team God Tier, Lepalos. That would be Tisani. Playing with them. Oompa Loompas are already up and coming. Kaiser Littens. This team went out. I keep my eye on them, but they have a long ways to go. There was another team that I wanted to. Who was it? Oh, Icefelt playing for eSuba, who also went out in the first round. But Oompa Loompas, though, Lepalos, they, Team God Tier. I actually watched the last map of this. It was casted in French. Oompa Loompas, though, taking the monthly and taking the region by storm right now, and I'm looking forward. That's all I can say. I'm looking forward. See what
over here in is this North American one with the Overguard Haste?
Yes.
1K series number 5.
Yes, that
We've had some ongoing battles back and forth. I think this is last week's one, not last night's one that you've linked me here.
This says the date on is the 9th, so 3 days ago. Oh no. This is the Overguard. The one last night is completely different.
Yeah.
You're just saying that because you see Congarno's rap playlist, but you'll notice that Michael is not playing for Congarno here. I will point out to Leplos that the rest of these players, Hobbs, Apply, Stone Cold, Vita Coco, Crimson, Kakar. The reason why Leplos is confused is because last night was the Academy Gaming regular weekly tournament, and Congarno was playing, and Michael was playing on that team.
And they lost to No Anime Allowed, but
they did.
Here they actually won it in the semifinals over No Anime Allowed. What I do want to talk about on the other side, okay, so Congarno's what is it? Congarno's rap sheet, is it? Or rap playlist? Sorry.
Basically Congarno.
Take it 3-1 over the Savages in the finals here. The Savages, let me look them up. Anyone that stands out that's new. Or have we seen Hui before?
Yes, we have.
We've seen Hui before, but Capo Derek, Ace of Spades, Kelly, and Becky Lynch, I haven't really seen them before. I did want to point out, importantly, Toronto eSports with Panker and Poro, 2 Korean players in the lineup, went out in semifinals. Jax, that's got to be.
Toronto trying to build the organization up. They have huge aspirations from what I'm reading about in interviews and on Reddit. Sadly, if you're being honest, this is a disappointing result for them. semifinal exit to the Savages. They started out well, quarterfinal 2-0 over Arizona State, and then lose to 2-1 to the Savages in the semifinal. Not what they wanted. Congarna, though, Lepalose, preparing for season 2 contenders, maybe. Coming in first here in the Haste, and then second in the Academy Gaming Weekly, so they have some consistency to work on. I will point out though, Lepalose, that when they did not have Michael in the lineup, they won. When they put Michael in the lineup, they lost.
Ouch. That might be something to look into if you're coaches of Congarna. But no, in all seriousness, we'll see what competition is a little bit more like.
I'm glad we have these events, Lepalose.
It's
I'm
hard,
glad, dude.
They're hard to find, guys. If you see them coming online, it's definitely worth checking out. We have Jax. We have the University eSports Germany Overwatch.
My throat is so tired, man.
This one, listen, I'm gonna cut this one short. We still have an undefeated team, Isuka Kit SC, and we still have a bunch of forfeited matches. So many, in fact, that I can't even tell.
Are they forfeits, or are they just actually
matches.
Wow, so for week 5, December 6th, the games on December 6th, every one of them is, well, all but one is a 4-0, and that's what this one is a 0-0.
Yeah, exactly, Jax. Like, how does this make any sense?
I might have to strike this off.
I think this one might be until we get to playoffs. I think this one's struck off for next week or two, because definitely with the number of forfeitures, it's hard to fall. Basically, they're competing for Philadelphia Fusion slot right now in Germany. We don't know who's going to take it. My guess is everyone will be out to lunch. But
all right.
Jax,
are we done, Lep? Because my throat.
That brings us up to what's upcoming next week. Nexus Cup Finals. We mentioned we're doing that, but of course, Overwatch Heroes Rumble.
Who's going to win it, Lep? Who? Nexus Cup.
Nexus Cup. Oh, Lunatic High, for sure.
You take Lunatic High. I'm looking.
Absolutely.
Oh, this could be. I mean, this is actually pretty good because barometer of where Korean Overwatch is right now. These are all the best teams, if I'm honest with you. Lunatic High, Element Mystic, Kongdu, Meta, Athena. I want to see Meta fight back out of the lower bracket and actually make a push back into the grand finals. I think they have the potential to do that. My boy Arhan, show me what you got.
Yeah.
But yeah, these should be some good games though. Seriously, some good games here from Nexus Cup. You might have to find the bootleg English stream if you don't want to go to the Chinese site.
That was Legaday's stream, I believe. That was doing the bootleg with.
Dude, the Overwatch competitive Reddit moderators drive me crazy. I clicked on a link. Right, the thread had been closed. Unsanctioned stream or broadcast, so they didn't allow it on the competitive Reddit. I'm like, come on with that, dude. Get out of here. Yeah. But Lepalose, the other big thing, it's time to rumble. Overwatch Heroes Rumble 2017. This is in Taipei City, Taiwan, Taipei, Lepalose. Here we go.
Taiwan, Taipei. Okay. Well, we also, on top of that, we know some things. There's been a lot of movement of players out of
big movements, Lepalose.
Flash Wolves no longer really going to be the same. We have people subbing in on Blank Esports. We have Mama Chu tweeting out about her son Mangachu getting there on time because of
Lepalose.
Lepalose,
here's the deal.
It's like half.
This is who Philadelphia needs to hire. Philadelphia needs to hire Mangachu's mom. She got him, Lepalose. She got his passport in a day, got him on a plane, and got him to Taiwan, Taipei in 1820.
Philadelphia Mama Chus.
That's what they need. Houston, help Mendo out, right?
Yeah, Houston could have used him
for
that. Yeah.
I'm sad to say this, Flash Wolves. We have Nunez stepping in for Zonda Lepalose. So we knew that Zonda and 2 others were going to be leaving Flash Wolves. I was hoping that they would at least make it through the tournament, but Zonda is already gone. Realman and Sinkler, this is the last game for them. So half the team that we have come to know to be in the top tier of the Pacific or the Southeast Oceanic region, Lepalose, will be gone after this tournament.
Yeah, it's hard to see them doing well with their
Lepalose. I then want to draw your attention to Blank Esports, where we have Hus, Anime Fan. We're gonna go back to that name in a second. Lepalose, Huwu, Chain, who played for Envision in APAC, Phozix also played for Envision, Trill, but Anime Fan Lepalose. If you click on his name on that thread, on that page right there, you'll see who he played for. He played for Kings Gaming, Lepalose, the number 2 team in Australia. They're already started the poaching. Kings Gaming has now lost a key player, a DPS player, Lepalose, very hard to replace. And is this how it is? You just poach. Is this the deal?
Jax,
We were hoping Kings Gaming would be up and coming to challenge Blank Lepos. Blank says, "Nah, fam, we got this," and they stole them.
So this is something I believe that's pretty typical in most sports, which is the top team remains the top team by poaching the best talent from other people around them.
How does the region grow,
crappy.
Lepalose?
It doesn't when they do it. Like, if you look, is that good for overall growth of Australia? No. In Australia and New Zealand, no, it's not. It's really, really not. Like, if you don't have competition amongst teams, you don't really foster that growth amongst them.
They're bringing in foreigners. They're bringing in Canadian and American now.
Yeah. I mean, at least for this, I'm not sure if they're going to be keeping that roster going forward or not.
This is a tryout. We'll see.
I mean, we'll see what happens with them. I don't know what to really expect out of any of the OPC teams here.
I mean, okay, I don't know if you took a look at this game mode rotation that they have for the Rumble here, Lepalos.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
You'll notice that for those, this might be actually fun to watch.
Yeah.
Just but the game 1 will be 6v6 competitive. Game 2, 6v6. Game 3, 4v4 deathmatch. Game 4, 1v1 limited duel. And game 5, if it comes to that, or 4 and 5, game 5 will be 6v6 competitive play. If you go to the best of 7, which I think will be for the finals and things or playoffs, you have 6v6, 6v6, then 4v4 team deathmatch. 3v3 lockout elimination, 1v1 limited duel, and then you're back to 6v6 for game 6s and 7s. I mean, I like it. It's a different format. I just happen to take a look at the English broadcasting talent levels that they have lined up. We have ZP, Osti, Suki. Oh boy. Lepalos knows why I just said that, because Suki is a known quantity when it comes to casting. I take you back to MSI last year, Lepalos around this time, and Vicky Kitty. I don't know who that is. But I'm looking at Frenchman and the Henchman, Lepalos, AKM, Jesus, Gods, Factor Fiction, Athan, and Dahoon. Got Kefri leading a meme dream team, a bunch of streamers where Kefri is So they've got 5 Australians and 1 American, with Kefri being the captain. Sunface with Clap. You got Keller, Mangachu, Zachary, iShiny, Goliath, and Elk. And then Team Zappis, Shadow 2K, Davin, Zappis, Mazasa, Gray, and Denia. It'll be entertaining. It'll be fun to watch.
Definitely some good players on these invited teams from outside the OPC region. The OPC teams, I think, are going to be facing some stiff competition. Actually,
is there a prize pool? I don't see it, but I guess not. It's just a show match. Okay.
I
don't see a prize pool anywhere.
I'm not sure if there's a prize pool. Blizzard might shut it down if there's money involved. But
no, but you know what? Like, one of our viewers in chat says, I like the variety. I'm interested. I am intrigued. Because while we look at competitive Overwatch as best being 6v6, Blizzard does have these other game modes. So for a tournament to work it in, interesting.
Yeah,
fun to watch, just for variety's sake.
We could do a completely 2CP tournament one night.
Oh,
no.
Lepalose.
Things that will never happen. Jax, what will also never happen is a short Overwatch rundown.
Lepalose.
That's certainly not tonight.
Here's the deal. When Overwatch League comes out, we're screwed, because I don't know how do we not do what we just did? Like,
we have to have some pre-time in preparation to say we can't. We got to cut down the time.
But we have to go through. So are we literally gonna be at a point where we're just giving scores, because
we go. Well, scores are quick, and we just cut down. We say we'll give a minute or 2 minutes for a point here or there.
I just want to point out that Lepalose says we cut down. I have no specific notes because I wanted to avoid this exact problem.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, we can do it. We have to guide the conversation points ahead of time and not just go off on Widows every 5 minutes, because there's so many Widowmakers. Let's be honest. At least they're better than all the Torbjorns this time of the year. So small miracles or Christmas miracles, whatever you want to call them. But
all right, Lepalose, this is episode 66. You can stop by at OW Rundown on Twitter. You can also find a link to the Discord where Lepalose and I hang out with people. When we watch our games, we're in there talking. we start up random Overwatch conversations because we watch VODs at various times, and we come back and Lepalose is talking about Shanghai, or I'm talking about the Gladiators. Who knows? But still, feel free to stop by the Discord. I think is it open invite levels? I think it is. Just
Yeah. You can,
join.
there's the link is up there, so that's going to remain up there. You can stop by.
Okay, it's a pinned tweet at the top. So you can find him at Lepalose. All you Sure 4 fans, overrated, outdated. Lepalose wants to hear from you. At Lepalose, I'm at JaxJX_Blake. If any of you have contact with the LA Gladiators, please put them in touch with me because they need my help if they're going to go anywhere. And he is, every Tuesday night on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lepalose. You can find us as we broadcast the podcast live, hang out and chat, mention things, remind us, help us with our pronunciations because we're going back to Southeast Asia next week, Lepalose, and I already know we're going to struggle with that because we always
Apologies a week in advance already.
Thank you for everybody who pulled it up on YouTube. I think Lepalose said we had a lot more viewers than normal on YouTube, so just Google YouTube Lepalose, and you'll find all of our VODs and other things that Lepalose likes to do, like play Metal Gear Solid 5, but
that's Twitch.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, whatever. You guys should let us know though what you guys like, what you don't like. If you want us to purposely try and keep it shorter,
please help us. Help us to keep this short.
If you guys want us to keep on going, we can do this like multi-day podcast.
Man.
No, we're not going to do.
My throat right now is struggling, but that's
my neither Jax, here nor there. You know what I'm doing right now?
What's that?
I'm playing the music right now.
You playing the music? He's playing the music.
I'm playing the music. I mean, we had to end it at some point.
Oh man, Toast. I am actually looking forward to this